Hey, just wrapped up an amazing episode with Jimmy Hill. He's the owner and operator of Amplified Wax Studios here in Spokane, Washington. If you'd like a little bit more out of your sound, if you would like somebody who's a little bit more involved with how the creation of your song is, if you're a band that has instruments, look, hit up Jimmy. He'll get you right. I appreciate you guys.
He appreciates you guys.
He appreciates you a lot.
God, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Good Lord. Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wrapped up an amazing podcast. Hold on. Shit. Cut me right there, Mike. Don't fuck me up.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, that's awesome, dude. Well, yeah, let's jump into a little bit of a little Jimmy here.
Oh, before we do, I brought you guys some gifts.
You did?
I did.
Wow.
I had one XL. Brought you guys some swag for your.
Dude.
I always represent where I go.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, man.
Some pans and some
Oh,
stuff.
Cool.
Yes.
I got an XL. And then I didn't have any more 3XLs because those went actually pretty quick. But I do have my side hustle. It's a cup
Oh, nice.
Dude,
from my side hustle wife's company.
Sweet.
So hope it's not too vulgar, but
No. Rise and fucking
Wow,
shine.
thank you, man. This is
Sweet.
great.
We
Love
appreciate
the design
that.
on the back.
Thank you so much.
yeah, my wife's company is this Misfit merch thing.
merch.
She's got a couple sassy items that we sell, but
Nice.
that's the design I
Printed
mid,
with a
and,
sarcastic
Got this
twist.
guy in the back here?
yeah.
Oh, that's
My wife's
sick.
a graphic designer, and so I'll just say,
she is.
I'll be like, hey, I want it to look like this, and we kind of div it. I said, and then the logo too. Obviously, we just incorporated that in there, but yeah. So anyway,
Thank you.
you're
So
welcome.
Mandy Hill, that's your wife, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you guys, how long have you guys been together for?
Man, since we've been married since 2006, and then 5 years dating, living together before that. So
Holy shit,
it's been a long
that's
time.
Awesome, dude.
That's like 20 some years probably total.
That's so cool, dude. You guys have any kids?
Two.
2 kids.
Yeah, I got
Awesome.
a 15-year-old and a 11-year-old, and my 15-year-old is going to be driving in April, so that's be careful out there.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Is your
Trying to practice her up, but she's doing all right.
Is she into music at all?
Yeah, but like she's super into rap. She's super into like the weekend kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like really heavy, like my whole upstairs. I gave her my old speakers. I had some old Serwin Vegas.
Oh, dude.
Back in the day.
I bet you got, man.
And so I gave them to her, and I'm really happy that when we built our house that we put like music grade like soundproofing insulation in the walls, because all I hear is like just like the bumpiest, grindiest trap. Like she's just, yeah, that's all her friends and her listen to.
That's
so
awesome, man.
I'm like, because I'm the rock guy, I'm like, hey, like Alice in Chains. She's like, no, nothing.
That's
Not even a little appreciation?
I mean, so this
Or is
is
she
what,
just like, this is dad's
well,
old music?
okay, so the appreciation, I'm going to call her out. She's going to be pissed, but she'll wear like vintage T-shirts
Oh, yeah.
Nirvana.
but she'll buy them from like Abercrombie or not. What I don't even think
Yeah,
they're still
Urban
around.
Outfitters or something.
Yeah, and I'm like, I always pull it. Like she was wearing a Def Leppard shirt the other day. I'm like, name one song right now. Like I can't. Like I am like the rock music guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you don't know one song and she's
You
like,
have to take.
I'm like, yeah, take that off. But she has like Led Zeppelin. She has all this stuff, but I think she just buys it because the album covers look good on T-shirts. So I'm kind of upset with her about that.
It's
but
that retro thing too.
That's
It's like
funny.
it is like a, it is funny because they sell like a new shirt.
do
It's not
it.
even a thrifted
Dude.
like an old shirt. It's
No,
like
it's
a
just-
new.
Yeah,
Like,
I got this at
New
Target. I
Nirvana.
think.
But really, it's just hey. Now I'm gonna force you to listen to some of this music.
No, I do. I made her listen to like almost 30 seconds of every song off the Hysteria album off of Def Leppard because that album to me was super important as a kid because CDs had just come out. I'm gonna date myself here, but my dad had like he was an audiophile too. We had these speakers and they were bought at like a 70s like Huppins Hi-Fi back in the day. You can imagine like Huppins like downtown and like you'd walk in and there'd be like these giant wood cabinet speakers and there was a cone on top. So when you pulled off the black, it was like a square. It was like a spire, like it came up and then it said BIC on it, which was like the company name. But I remember they sounded amazing and you pulled off the whole top and it was like speaker cover, like black kind of foam, it was in a square and it was in a cage and you pulled that off and there was a 12-inch driver that shot down into this giant wooden cabinet with like speaker inputs on the bottom. And then on top, it was like circular mids and tweets that like went 360 degrees into the room.
Whoa,
In the 70s.
dude.
Like 1978, he probably got this system because he was like fixing cars and balling and
He
buying
just
like
loves
driving Trans
music
Ams and
he wanted
buying
something sick.
So we got this sick receiver and these speakers that were like circular, like they didn't like shoot out. Like you'd have like a cone
So
that
they'd
faced
go
you,
no matter where you were in
so
the
the
room.
sub fired down, and the tweeters and the things like shot up and like hit these like circular like kind of top shaped discs that would disperse the mids and highs 360 degrees.
Wow.
Dude.
So they sounded really good. And he'd got like records and tapes and stuff. And then CDs came out. And like the first CD he ever bought was Def Leppard Hysteria. And I remember like when he would leave for work, I'm like 7 years old and nobody was around and I'd pop that CD in there and I would crank them bitches up and I would just be like, my house probably outside sound like a concert. It was like, like one arm drummer, it's like in the beginning,
Dude,
So-
and
so-
this is
and I listened I probably burned that disc out literally. Like I played it over and over and over again. And then I got the Black Album Metallica, and then I went old school Metallica. So like playing my dad's system, and then these CDs that he would bring home, and then I started buying. Like my first CD that I ever bought was Nirvana Nevermind. That had just come out. So again, I'm dating myself, but like it was like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and I used to play those things. So when I see her wearing these shirts, and I'm like, no, you don't even know. Like you're just going to Urban Outfitters or
you don't
whatever.
even know that you're wearing like you're gonna buy a shirt that's like a band that like influenced your dad, and then you're just
Exactly.
gonna wear it and not even know any of the
Walk right
music,
by him.
just
Yeah.
disrespectfully.
Like
But-
you got to know at least one song. Like
Yeah.
name a member of the band. Like just anything. Just give me anything. And she's like, oh no.
it's just like the album's called Nevermind.
Exactly. Oh,
No, that's awesome, man. That's funny. I think that's good. That's a good way for her to find out. It's just, you bought that, you thought that was cool, and now you get to, even though kids may be a little resistant, it's like now you're gonna get a history lesson.
Yeah, and like the other thing is TikTok has resurgence, like a lot of remixes with like old loops. So they'll play something and it's like this new remix with some new rapper who I've never heard of, and then it'll be like a loop of like the Fugees or something. And she's like, yeah, I'm like, that's not new. It's not new. I'm telling you, like, and I'll play the old song and she's like, aw, like she thought that her generation like found something
Well,
new.
it happens a lot in hip hop too, where
Yeah.
where basically we would you have a soul record or something or a blues record or something that was sampled, and then I'll find I'll have beats and I'll be finding the original song, and then I'll be blown away.
Yeah.
Some 50s, 40s, 30s songs. So I think it's funny. It's just every generation would look and be like, dude, like, because that generation was there when that music was
Right.
like coming out, and to us now it's like, you know, you're kind of annoyed, just like it's on TikTok.
Wow,
like,
that's
it's on,
funny.
like, yeah,
What's funny is when like they'll do a song with a sample from like the 90s or 80s or whatever, and then they'll keep like the chorus kind of the same. So I'll start singing along, like, oh yeah, it's this song. And she'll look at me and she goes, how do you know this song? Like, how do I know the new 2023? I'm like, no, it's not that I don't know your version. It's like, you don't know that this has already been made 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's hilarious.
It's
So
happening a lot right now.
I have this funny thing, but it's also good for bands that have been good, like big, like in the 2000s, like Good Charlotte and like all these.
where it's coming back
And
now.
now they're getting, like, people are figuring them out again because a whole new generation on TikTok is like 15, 14 years old.
And
you
then
know?
their dads are coming in and saying,
Well, and they just, but it's like they're like discovering it, so it's making it popular again.
yeah.
You're seeing tours with like Sum 41 and like Yellow Card. It's like, dude, I thought those bands were gone from my college days.
No, it's
and now
funny.
they're
You never
touring
know when you're
again.
going to get called back.
Yeah, they're
hey,
like,
dude, you're trending on TikTok.
Yeah.
We are? Oh,
Yeah.
Come on,
Exactly.
Get your skills back up, man. We're going back on tour.
I know. I recently just got on TikTok like 3 months ago. Just started, so it's like a new world. You know, I'm like, don't go down the conspiracy.
I was going to
chains.
say, are you like, so it's, are you more just like creating content on it, or are you consuming like? stuff
Well, the
on it?
plan was to be creating content, but that shit is addictive. Like,
Yeah.
it got me on the conspiracy theories. It's just conspiracy talk.
Yeah, it curates right to what your little soft
I
spots
can't
are.
stop,
doesn't it?
dude. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
it's
is flat Earth real?
flat. Or I was just gonna say the flat. There's a lot of flat Earth on there.
There's some compelling evidence. I'm
No,
not.
there's not.
I'm not, but I'm just
No.
saying, like, for some reason, I think it's entertaining, so I
No,
like
it is.
keep
It's
watching it.
hilarious. I've been on cults like crazy lately. Like it's like almost that's another thing that's happening on like Netflix, Hulu, HBO. It's like cult, and I just keep seeing a new one like every week, every month is like, and I'm like, oh, another one. What are they doing this time? Suicide cult. Wow. You
Yeah.
know, oh whoa, this one is like this one woman thinks she's God and everybody thinks she's God. And they still right now today think that this is a walking like just some young lady that's just she's God and she's got all these followers. It's just crazy.
My algorithm right now is pitching me like a lot of like robot dog like with guns and stuff.
Jesus.
Like, it's
Holy
not
shit.
good.
Is that,
And like you can't like knock them over. Like they.
Well,
like,
they like teach them how to like run over different
oh, you're talking about like those
like military, like they're putting them out in New York City right now. It's not a conspiracy. Like they're like got like they're right now they don't have the gun attachment, but like
it's like to police?
yeah.
No.
They're like that guy over there is not like doesn't have a vaccine. They're like, "Rah!"
that guy's peeing over there.
Yeah,
You
dude.
can't- Oh,
that's crazy.
I'm
what
telling you, it's bad. So they keep, and then it shows me like all these things where like Japan's got like they're building them, and there's like 5,000 of them on this like big warehouse, and they all like get up at the same time and drop down at the same time and get up and like move and I'm just like, oh no.
Isn't it called like Boston Dynamic or
That's a U.S. company.
Is that a US
I
company?
shouldn't know all about this stuff,
And-
but again,
Well, dude, that was like legit a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
yeah, no, the stuff that I'm seeing every day is like that episode, but it's like real.
Oh my god.
It can like jump up on things and like run super fast, but then it has to like machine learn, AI learn like different environments. Like it can't just go from like a flat sidewalk to like a rocky road.
But once
it
it's
just
been
falls
there,
over.
then it knows it. It like retains
They
it.
simulate it in a lab, like 1,000 different scenarios, like based on what it did out on the field, and they just like machine AI learn it until it like then the next time the next dog that doesn't have to know it just like knows.
Fuck.
Oh my god.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's scary.
I'm glad that we're segueing into the AI stuff because this is honestly.
I would much rather it be for music than what the killer robot dogs that I've been seeing. Because I'm like, oh,
well, just like if you got to think of like 10 years from now, like as these things continue, like AI continues to, I mean, I don't know, maybe slip the grasp of human. I don't know. You know, obviously technology is, it's progressing faster than it's evolving faster than we're evolving.
oh, I have a thought experiment. It was like, if you go back to 2010, I think we had iPods with like very limited screen colors. That was 10 years ago. Think about it. Like iPhones couldn't surf the internet. They couldn't like do very much stuff. They could kind of like make phone calls. We barely had videos that could stream and take a phone call at the same time. Like that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
Now stream this far forward, 2023. They say that technology exponentially doubles, like, you know, so exponentially, not like 10 more years we're going to be that far. It's like, no, in half that time, we're going to be 10 times as far. That's the thought experiment that keeps me crazy. So like ChatGPT AI right now, year 1, year 5 is like they're running cities with it.
And that's why they're saying like the humans are like, we can't really like handle the technology in a way. That's why we're like people are getting addicted and depressed and burnt out and like we don't know how to handle like social media and like all this.
It's definitely a factor that like, will we at some point look back and say, maybe corporate interests were forefront and they knew that people were going to be depressed and addicted, but they chose not to like do the things like big tobacco did, where they have to put like warning labels and like limit it to a certain age group.
Yeah.
Will we have limitations and a certain age group use like in a few years, because then the data will finally come out to show that kids should not be on their phones 8 hours a day? Like, I think everybody knows it, but there's not like a government regulation to say, like these are
especially kids.
These are worse than cocaine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the dopamine levels, the depression, like for instance, I have kids. One of the little fun experiments is like when your daughter starts acting a fool and starts getting way out of line, like no control overall. Like she just does whatever she wants, the temper tantrums, like they're acting like a crackhead basically. And you take that phone away, they literally go through withdrawals. Like I literally take the phone and I say, okay, you disrespected your mom. You called her this. You called me that. Like you didn't do whatever. Your phone is gone, and they lose it for about 3 days. They wean down.
That's like the actual like. That's like
it's literally
like
withdrawals.
Drug.
It's
Really?
literal withdrawals.
Wow.
I always tell them. Like I told my wife the first time it happened, she was like 12. She was like, ah. I said, actually, it was 13 because I actually held off to giving her a cell phone until she was 13. Of all the parents in our like friend group or like community, I was considered like an outlier. Like, what do you mean?
I was going to ask if that was hard because I have a son too. He has a son, so I don't know. I think we think about that kind of stuff.
13, good job.
13 was like the
God
last
damn.
bastion, but then you get into school, and my daughter's in sports, so everything's like team meetings and homework, and everything is revolved around this phone. Like they don't even know where practice, what time, because it changes. It's dynamic on the daily. She's like, I missed practice because I didn't have a phone. Thanks, and probably some of it is just like her. Wanting a phone. So she's blaming everything on not having one. But I held out till she was 13. My 11-year-old, it seems to me that like she might get one earlier, but I'm like, nope, you're going to wait until 13 too. Like that's the rule. But anyway, going back to it, we took that phone away. A few times I've had to do it. One time she really screwed up and I took it away for a month. That was like, but you know what happened? After day 2, she's still like tweaking out a little bit and still like withdrawing. And then by day 3, she's like coming downstairs and she's eating dinner with us and she's having conversations and she's happy and conversating.
Wow.
She's not depressed. She's not anxious. She's not caring about like all the little intricacies of what a 15-year-old or a 13-year-old social thing at school. Like, oh, all my friends, I can snap stalk them and they're all at the party and I wasn't invited. So it's like this whole thing. If she can't know that they're all like around her back doing things, she doesn't have anything to be anxious about. But when they have it all, like all these things go through their heads like, oh, I didn't get invited to this, but there they all are. And then the whole thing just goes crazy. So you wean them off of them, put the phone in the safe, and then I say, okay, you're going to, and she evens out, dude. She evens out. She's like a normal 1980s kid.
And it's just because it's like the dopamine is the same as doing drugs.
You got to tell me that they haven't done studies on this and they don't know this?
Yeah.
Come on. They know it. I, as a parent, have done this 3 or 4 times where I've taken that phone away and been like a hard ass, like, you're not getting it back.
And you'll feel better in a few days.
And she does. And then there was one point where she lost it for a month. She's like, I don't even care if I get it back. I'm good. And then we kind of like, because of school and stuff, and then she starts getting a little cray-cray. And then this year, like 15, 16, like it seems to be that like her brain can handle it more. She's less crazy, but like that 13, 14, 12-year-old, like hormonal imbalance stage of females,
Yeah.
that phone was not good.
Wow, that is such important information.
Yeah, I strongly advise any of you young fellas with kids coming up, like hold off as long as you can and just do that experiment. Just when they're like on it every day for 8 hours and they start like disrespecting you and like being depressed and being anxious, like take it away and watch it's like taking a crackhead off crack.
But you gotta hold out for a few days.
No, you have to be like the strong one, but you can watch it. You can literally watch their levels level out.
I don't like that. I don't like.
What does that say about? But
this is what it is for all of us.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what does that say about us?
It's just that kids, it's like really not. Yeah,
it could because like a developing mind.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I go grab my phone.
And do you check it?
No.
I have no. We have.
I get a glass of water.
Me and my girlfriend have a no phones in the bedroom policy. So we don't have our phones in the bedroom, but still the first thing I do before I go to the bathroom is go grab my phone and then go to the bathroom.
The first thing you do before you wake up and she's there is you should say, I love you.
Yeah.
If you grab your phone before you say, I love you, how's your morning? You have a problem.
Yeah.
That's how much these things are like crazy. I have them on me for business because I also recognize like, guns are a tool and they can be used for good or for evil. And the phone is the same thing. It's like anything. You can use it for good or for evil, right? So that being said, like you got to look at this thing like a gun. It's a useful tool when you need it, but you should not just be like waving it around all the time and just like overdoing it. Like it's not good.
I feel like the dangers, like trying to explain to a young person the dangers of your phone is just like, it's not going to kill. Well, we're fine. And it's just because it's a psychological thing, right?
That's what alcoholics say.
So it's like with a gun, it's like, oh, you could hurt somebody. But like with a phone, you're just like, oh, well, I'll be fine. You have a phone. We all have phones. It's normal. And then not really. It's just like you're saying, just that FOMO, that like, you didn't invite, like that could happen to anybody, especially kids, obviously.
Because they're going through that, like, who's the hierarchy, like they're building their social hierarchy, like who's dating who and like who likes who.
And where do
like,
I fit into this whole thing?
Yeah, and now if you don't fit in because you didn't get invited, and it might just be because they just like forgot to ask you, or they thought that maybe your dad was strict and wasn't gonna let you go anyway. But it totally messes with them.
Dude.
So yeah, it's not good.
Well, it's because we're not supposed to have the information in real time right there in the palms of our hand. It's just that's where the technology has advanced further than we know how to interface with it. And it didn't come with an instruction manual. It's like having a kid. They're just like, here's a phone.
I just have a 20-year. I've got 42 years of experience with this. Where I'm like with that generation where like half of my life we had no phone, and the other like I'm at the halfway point. Like half of my life till I was 21. There was no cell phones.
When were you born?
1981.
81, okay.
So the second half of my life, I've had cell phones. So I'm like indifferent to it. I'm like, I could go either way. Like I kind of liked it when we were just like playing baseball at the park all day.
I mean, so cell phones were different too, because you used to just play baseball at the park and you'd go check your flip phone. Maybe you got to
a brick.
Check your voicemail.
It was a brick, and it had a leather like strap that my mom would give me, and it had like buttons, and like you'd pull out the thing, and it like kind of unflipped. But there was no like screen really. It was like beep boop boop.
No, I remember my dad had one of those.
That's what I had in like when I was 19. My mom's like, "Don't be out. Like if you're gonna go to like Seattle, like call me on this when you get there."
So that was cool. That was like that's probably the technology that we can handle.
Maybe a Nokia would be a little better.
Like
when the Nokia with the snake. Yeah, that was like that's
T9 text.
That's the phone I had in college.
And then anything, if you want to see what your friends are doing, you should have to get to like a desktop computer at least, or some type of
or call them
or something. Yeah,
they're already. Pretty soon it's going to be like you're wearing a set of glasses that like shows pinpoints augmented reality where your friends are. Yeah. That's like already happening.
So it's just. I feel like it just takes away, because I mean I want to lean into it. I want to be like, yeah, technology. Okay, I want to just. We're not going to stop it. I just want to be able to use it and use it responsibly. But it like seems like it's taking away from like the human experience.
I think it's like alcohol or Coke. Like some people, I'm gonna say it. I think it's like some people are gonna be okay. They can like put it down. They're like, yeah, this is a useful tool, and I'll look at my phone or use this thing like a couple hours in a week or maybe 10 minutes a day to do what I got to do. And then there's other people that are like just strapped in all day, can't put it down.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else. Like I have a lot of functioning people that can handle alcohol, and I have some people that can't even have a sip. I think that's exactly the same receptors that phones kind of, get fired up. The dopamine and all that. Like some people, they can, like myself, I'm one of those people. I have a non-addictive personality. I've smoked in the past. I've done hard drugs in the past, but it was like, I don't need this anymore. Like I could smoke right now for like a month and just put it down and like never smoke again.
Damn.
Like not a problem.
That's awesome.
But it's just because however I was made, I don't have that addiction factor.
Yeah.
I could drink and I'll go hard for a couple weeks and then I'll put it down like, I feel like shit, I'm not going to drink anymore.
Yeah.
But I have friends who are like, not even a drop.
Yeah, no,
I think that's the same way.
I think you're right.
I think that's the same way technology can be. It's like just on different levels. Like some people, they can use it for business and that's it. And some people are on it literally 10 hours a day.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. And it's that dopamine. It's that high that we're getting from those notifications.
They build them by people that build casinos. The apps that you use, like TikTok and all that stuff, like the scrolling, even they were like, should we make the pages go sideways or scroll up? And they decided that up was more addicting because like the way that like slots work.
Oh my God.
Think about it. Like everything in your
everything's
thing.
up and
It's
down.
like bing, bing. Like it's like you scroll up and it goes boop, boop. It's like it's all built by people. They've literally farmed out these apps to people that work for casinos.
To the colors of the notification
The
thing
sounds.
that pops up to like grab your eye, to the sound.
When you call somebody or text them, it wasn't enough that you would just text somebody and then you would they would just text you back and it would show up. Now a little set of bubbles shows up, so you're just like watching the bubbles.
Shit,
they put that
right.
shit in there on fucking purpose. Sorry,
right.
I said fuck. Can I say fuck?
Yeah, you can. But to just keep you right there.
Yeah, because then you're like, what did they say? And then sometimes they disappear and you're like, oh.
So no, they stop and you're like, well,
Where'd the bubbles go?
I'm
He must
waiting.
be thinking.
Yeah, like now I can't respond. I gotta wait for them.
Yeah, that was an additional ad they added.
Yeah, that's new or ish,
Yeah, the last couple years, but they figured out what if we put bubbles there so they don't leave their phone instead of just like, oh, I'll come back and check this message when he gets back to me. Now it's like
That's like the human experience where it's like you're using it as a tool and then you set it down and I feel like I have a very good relationship with that as well. But you see where these things are. Like when I see those bubbles, I'm kind of like, oh, I know someone's gonna text me back. And then I'll find myself like checking it and then checking it, and then it's like I went and I'm checking it again, and it's just like, bro, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get the text
Whenever it comes through.
the most addictive possible. That's what they're going for. And if they were trying to do this with cigarettes to kids in the 80s, making things addictive with nicotine and making the cartoons with the Joe Camel, like that all got banned.
Yeah.
But they don't have any problem making slot machine workers work for Snapchat.
It's probably because these guys have found like there's like that legal gray area where they're still trying to find
It's
and
too
build
new.
ways exactly.
I guarantee you 10 or 15 years from now, it's all going to be like, you must be 18 to blah, blah, blah. And then kids will figure out a way. It'll just make it more popular.
Do you think there's going to be like all of us are just going to have fucking pinkies just hanging? Like, what's going to happen to all of our pinkies from holding that phone in one hand? And
You won't hold it.
Or we're just going to have carpal
You
tunnel.
won't. You
in our
won't hold
fucking
it.
arm.
I've seen ones now where the watch or something like it like shoots the hologram out like that, and you just hit like you use it. It's like a projected image.
Well, that's a movie. I feel like that's been on a movie, So that's crazy that it's like from Black Mirror or from a movie, a James Bond movie. Now it's just.
Well, that's a movie now.
I mean, just the fact that those things are coming to reality. That
Right.
was stuff that you would just see.
Oh, we're living in it.
That trips me out, honestly. That's pretty cool, though. To be honest,
You're like, oh, give me one.
That is pretty cool.
He's like, I'm in.
I mean, it is cool. It's cool, but it's like it's going to be our demise, is what it feels like. But that's where we go down the rabbit hole, right? I don't want to, like
I don't think it's like I said, I think it's just like,
I mean, if it keeps 10 times in half the time and then that keeps going, that means in 30 years, dude, we're going to be the dumbest things on the planet.
well,
And then we're not going to be in charge anymore.
I get it. So
You know what I mean?
bringing it back to music. So like I just got this app. It's called Sound Pure. I'll have to look again. I have it on my phone. I'll figure it out. But SoundFlow, that's what it is.
Okay.
Have you checked this out yet?
No.
So for a guy like me that does a crap ton of work in a DAW, like making tracks during a session while I'm recording, editing, normalizing tracks, pulling up Melodyne, all this stuff, it's always like mouse click. I got to go to this menu, file down, blah, 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 like make new tracks. I got to like even with hotkeys, it's like 15 clicks to get a bunch of stuff to happen.
Okay.
So this new company, they're making macros. So like you can get a little Stream Deck that has buttons on it, or you can use I'm using my cell phone right now because I'm in a 30-day trial just to try this software out. But you can program it. Like let's say I want to make 10 vocal tracks, a bunch of EQ or a bunch of effects and stuff for tracking a vocalist. So I got like the main vocal, a bunch of ad libs, all this stuff. Well, in the old bed, I'd be like, make new track, make these ones times 4, it would do it. And I'd have to load up all these plugins and do all this stuff. And it would take me, unless I had a template, like maybe a couple minutes or maybe a minute and a half to like build all that every session. Well, now you can use this thing to like build everything you want to do into one macro and save it on a button. So when next time someone comes, I hit the button and I watch Pro Tools go bloop, 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 and it makes all this stuff in me in like 2 seconds. So it's like using the technology. It might make me dumber in a way that I'm like not doing long division to get there, but I'm using another tool to just do all the stuff that I already know how to do.
So it's kind of like, it's kind of like using a calculator where it was like,
Exactly.
You're never going to be able to just walk around with a calculator everywhere.
So I know how to build it with or without that, but maybe like the next kid who's coming together is like, I'll just take, and you can like make these macros and put them on a forum for free, or sometimes you can sell them to people. Like I can make this macro that does this specific thing and put them on their website and sell it for like $5. And then if a bunch of other engineers like, oh, I also like to make a lead vocal and all these stuff with these EQs, like I don't want to reprogram that. I'll just pay this dude like $5, and then I get like a royalty for that, and then they get the button, and then they get it. Now, so maybe there's a kid that's like,
damn,
he doesn't want to learn how to do it, but he just wants to do it.
I think that's the age we're in.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to learn how to do it.
So it like that could make you dumber. But then again, like as long as he's paying the subscription and he's got the button, it's kind of like having a calculator that'll do like complex equations, functions, you know?
Yeah, to me, it kind of feels like when like a hip hop artist, like, maybe back in the day, you kind of had to, where it would start is you would learn how to make a beat, and you would have MPC and you would, and these days it's just like, oh, you're just on YouTube, you're like, Kendrick type beat. And then find it, and then pay a guy, and then now you have beat, right?
Or like Slate, like they have it where it's like you just literally get the packs, and like all the stuff is kind of like the chord packs are already there. That's the crazy. Like you used to have to know how to like make your own chords, kind of, and now it's like, no, you just grab these and like throw them in here and throw a sound on it. So in a way, it's like hindering. In a way, it's getting rid of the 10 steps to get there so you can like make music faster and more efficient. But then guys like us that used to have to know are like, oh, well, they don't even know how to do the original thing. It's like, it's like, well, okay, but if they're getting there faster, if they're like building on the backs of other greats to like do this, and they're making good music and they don't have to worry about doing that, like all these AI mixing plugins, like I'm like, you don't even know how to EQ right. And they're like, well, this computer that someone built does it for me, and I don't even have to worry about EQ. I can just make a song. I'm like, I can't argue with that.
So it does it, like the AI is just as good with EQ as like you would be?
There's channel strips now that like listen to your song or listen to your track, like your kick or your vocal, or in my world, it's like drums, bass, guitars, vocals, and then some like media. So they'll listen to like your heavy electric guitars and say, what genre? Like metal. And it'll go, Yeah, your 4K on is a little bit hot for the average the average metal guitar in today's productions. Like we're gonna EQ that down, and like it like looks at like curves and stuff, and it rolls off. Oh, it's a little fizzy. We're gonna roll off like maybe low pass, 10K, and then maybe oh, do you want to like do like thrash metal? Okay, well maybe we'll take that high pass filter a little higher. But if you're doing like some doom metal, like drop AB, it'll drop it down a little more.
Holy shit!
And so I'm like, I'm not
Do
mad
you
at
use
these
them,
kids.
or?
No, because I already know. I'm afraid I'll do what all these kids are doing.
You'll lose what you know.
Yeah, I'll be like, why would I spend 5 minutes doing this when I can throw this thing on here and it sounds pretty good?
Yeah.
Like that's what I was saying on our comment that kind of spawned me in here. Is like, you could literally get a $10 a month Waves membership now, and they've got the Studioverse thing going on or whatever it's called, and they've got this channel strip that like you can load 10 of their plugins if you wanted to build your own, which is cool if you want to make your own sound, or you can get Kendrick Lamar's vocal chain that his engineer has literally built and put on there and is probably getting paid for. And so a kid can go, I like these vocals, and they go bloop, and it's like EQ'd just with the right high pass and the right
Wow,
lifts.
crazy.
That's why I'm saying, like, you have people that I think the comment was something about good luck getting people to incentivize into buying records or something. Like, dude, you can't even get someone to like learn how to EQ on their own, or I don't remember what the comment was, but like the fact of the matter is like you can get a $10 license for every plugin that Waves makes in the Studioverse with all the chains, for whether it's rock, metal, hip hop. Like there's Chris Lord-Alge for rock. He's the biggest engineer of all time. You can get like his vocal chain in a plugin for him. Like he uses hardware, so it's a little misleading, but you can get close. And then same thing with the other guys. And then you can go over to Slate Digital, and I got this thing with my bundle. It's $10 a month where they have their own AI mastering. So whatever genre you plug in the genre, they give you 3 free a month just for being like a $10 a month member or $15 a month member for all of their plugins. You get their free mastering service, and you upload the song, and then after that, it's like $5 a song. So you could have these bundles, put all these plugins on it that are just like pretty good sounding OG like presets, and then make a decent song and then kind of level it out and then send it to a free mastering service or a $5 a song mastering service. I literally think that anybody who's a young person who's looking at like spending hundreds of dollars at a pro studio or investing in all this equipment or getting two $10 memberships and some free mastering, what are they going to do?
Yeah. I mean, it opens it up for everybody to be able to do it.
Like the valuation of music is going down because people don't have to spend a lot to make it, and I think there's definitely always going to be a niche for people that want to like go in and have a studio experience and have a human like work on analog gear.
But that's like what it's coming to is it's going to
But
be
that's not going to be the majority.
It's going to be like a novelty, like, I just want to go in there.
Yeah.
And, this is like nostalgic. You used to have a person in here. Wow.
Yeah, like tape machines, man. Remember those things? Like, I want to go record the tapes. Like, no, you don't.
Wow.
You have to calibrate them, and they stick, and they have hiss. And like I've had people that I actually used to have tape machines, and be like, yo, man, can we master the tape? I was like, yeah, I got a 1/4-inch reel. And they'd come in, and then they're like, what's that noise? I'm like, it's tape hiss. Like, tape hiss? Like, well, yeah, that's why they got rid of these things. And they're like, oh, this sucks. And it's like, it'll like go through, and if it's not like super working good that day, it'll kind of go like, it'll be running along, and they go, and they're like, what was that? And I'm like, oh, we got to re-punch that part. Like the tape machine had a little issue with the motor right there. It just kind of slowed down for a second. They're like, we can't have this. I'm like, what do you want? Like, this is why they came out with Pro Tools, because people dealt with this forever. They hated it.
You want the nostalgia until you don't.
Yeah, you want it until it takes the engineer 15 minutes to like recalibrate the tape machine and wrap all the little like tape around all the playheads and the stop heads. And they're like, what are you doing? It's like, I have to run 1K sine waves through this thing to calibrate these things before we start, or it's going to be weird.
It's 1978, dude. Okay, get in the right mindset.
Yeah, you used to have $150 an hour from some label that was paying me to do this, and now you've got $25 and you want this done in 10 seconds on a tape machine. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, you're better off just grabbing a plug-in, bro. Like, I'm telling you what.
That's so
A
funny.
It's
tape
true.
plug-in. You just get you a tape plug-in, man. We could just avoid all this.
I mean, there's some pretty good ones out there. If you've ever worked on tape, you listen to like some of these ones out, and you're like, that's close enough, and I don't have to deal with biasing. I don't have to run like 1K sine wave tones through it. I don't have to bias it. I don't have to keep it up. I don't like your tape. Your tape has to be a certain temperature and stored in a certain humidity. I've had people bring me like old tapes that their dad had and they want to remaster them, and it's all stuck together because it was in the attic. It's like you can't. You have to like store this stuff at a certain place.
so much maintenance.
It is. It's an old medium. It's like floppy disks, you know, like, but worse.
That is crazy.
Do you think that? So do you think that like engineers are gonna? It's just that'll phase out eventually, outside of it being just.
Here's what I think. I think people that know how to record proper are going to last a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think people are going to take those tracks and then do all the things that we just said at home. So I'll give you an example of a thought process that my wife and I have had. We've been doing this studio. I started in my basement so long ago, like was there for 7-8 years, just on small system in my basement, little like litter box over there and like a washing machine, and like the bands would come in. We had one bathroom
And
in
that
the
was
house.
how long ago?
This was like 2004, 5, all the way up to 2010.
Damn, 2004 or 5.
Yeah, so we had like a 002 rack, which was the first like Pro Tools thing you could afford at home, because everything else was like crazy stuff at studios or tape, you know, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that, and then I had an extra 8 channels, which was an Apogee Rosetta 800. They used to call it the poor man's HD rig, because you'd have a 002 rack modded by Black Lion Audio. You'd literally send it to this other guy, and they would take your converters and like put different clocks in them and different preamps, and it would come back like an HD system for like they would charge you like $2,000 to do that. You already had 1,000 into the O2 rack, but you were paying like 10,000 for the HD interfaces, which
Jesus.
obviously I couldn't afford in 2003. So then you get the Apogee 8 channels, you clock them together, and that was your HD rig. You'd have 16 channels. So that's what I used. We had a little space that I would do for the drums. Ceilings were like 6 foot, you know, nothing. It was crazy. Like shoved in this like little bedroom back there, and I put this piece of FBI grade like security glass with like no sound coming through it, that I still have today in my Studio B, because I kept taking it from building to building, because I paid like $1,000 for this window that was like soundproof.
That's awesome.
So every time I move studios, I keep my landlord's like,
window.
"What are you doing?" I'm like cutting a hole. I'm like, I'm taking my glass with me. Had this since I was 22 years old. So anyway, yeah, we would do all that, and then I lost my train of thought, but that's how far back
You were
I
talking
was.
about honestly, you were talking about something that led us into you know what you were doing back
engineering. So my wife and I were talking about this, and I've built up this studio with these giant rooms for doing drums, because the room reverb matters in what I do. Like, you want it. It's like, you ever listen to like Metallica Black Album, you hear the drums. That was all pretty much it was all pretty much done analog with mics and just preamps and tape. But little secret nobody knows about is they were using drum samples too, but that's okay. Like, there was like a little rudimentary version of it back then, but they do have drum samples in. But for the most part, it's all room mics. And so I always wanted a room that was that big. That's what I've been striving towards since my basement. I moved from a basement with no room mics to Garland, which was a little bigger room, to my newest studio, which has a giant drum room. And so I put mics in the corners and I capture all the ambiances and stuff. But
Wow.
I mean, it's like you got to worry about phase. You got like 10 to 16 mics on a drum kit, and then
What's
you got.
that? What did you say? Phase? What's that?
Are you joking with me right now?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Phase is like when you have 2 microphones on one source, you have to worry about phase. So if you ever, let me see that little thing right here. I'll draw it out for you. I don't know. People probably can't see this, but
That's okay.
I'll show you guys. I'll try to explain it. So
Yeah, I'm trying to learn here.
Yeah. So let's say that mic 1 is on the snare.
Mm-hmm.
And then mic 2, I'm going to do this on the other side. So you got your little snare drum right here.
Mm-hmm.
My little stupid drawings. You got a microphone, right?
Okay.
And that goes on channel 1. And then you've got, like, let's say you have another microphone up here that's supposed to be capturing, like, the overheads, like the cymbals and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes to channel 2.
Okay.
Well, the problem is that this mic is like 1 inch, and this is probably like 4 feet
Mm-hmm.
from the snare. So that time difference, the computer doesn't know the difference. Like, it doesn't know how to interpret that. It just knows that the sound is captured at the same time. So when you get like the snare on channel 1, it's got an up cycle, a down cycle, and then it kind of mellows out. So the attack is like the loud part. That's your snare.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say that like this microphone that's 4 feet back, that same sound happens like here. So you can see there's like a difference in time
Yeah.
that you get it. Well, the problem with that is that if you have a waveform on your computer, the up cycle pushes the speaker out. That's what that information says. It goes, I want you to push the speaker out.
Okay.
And then when it comes back, it wants you to pass that middle line. It wants you to pull the speaker back. So that air movement of that speaker, the DAW is saying, push the speaker out, pull the speaker in, push it out until it finally dies. So that push-pull is what creates waves in the air, like that woo, woo, woo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what your hair follicles decipher as frequency and music and bass or whatever. High end has short ones.
Holy shit.
Okay, so the speaker is moving. It's going positive and negative. Well, if that's like a simple sine wave, let's bring it back to our snare drum, mic 1, and that's close there. So it's going up cycle and then down cycle. It's called like compression and rarefaction, I think is the technical word for this. But let's say that like that same sine wave starting here goes like this. It's the same. You like visually, you can see that that's the same thing, right? It's the same waveform.
Yes.
But see how it's like when the second mic is going in its up cycle, the first mic is now in its down cycle?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a simple math question. +1 and -1 equals what?
0.
0. So what happens when the speaker gets information at the same time that it's supposed to push and pull at the same time?
Nothing happens. 0.
Your speaker stays exactly in the middle. Now you've you've spent that much power out of your amplifier to put, it says, I'm going to push like this many watts to go here and this many watts to go. So you push twice the watts to get no power.
Okay. So that's
So
phase.
on your channel, you have something called a phase button. It looks like that, like a little 0 with a
Okay.
little thing through it. What that does is it flips that waveform like this,
Oh, okay.
or it goes the other way. So in this thing, it would go down and up and down. So now, when I put those two on top of each other, let's see if I can redraw this. I knew I was good. I brought paper. So if the first one is going like this, that's your snare, and the second one is phase flipped. See how they go down at the same time now?
Yeah.
So now you're getting twice the volume, and your snare, the byproduct of this when they're not in phase, when you're listening to the drum kit and it's just like one, like these mics are picking up that like going the opposite direction, is you don't hear it, or it's very weak, especially in the low end. Like you'll still hear it. So if you're like me that has to put 10 mics on a drum kit, you'll sit there and you'll go, snare sounds good, overhead sound good. You bring them all together and like, my snare disappeared. What happened?
And that's what that,
It's phase cancellation.
I see.
So you go, okay, overheads phase flip, and it goes, and their snare pops out. And you're like, oh, okay, there it is.
Ah, okay. You know, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you can get this with subwoofers. Like if you have, I was working a club once, the old Boulevard Concert House. Now it's the Grand Hotel, but there used to be a club there, and I was the main house guy. And they had a guy or two before me that had set up all the speakers. And then I went to school and I learned about all this stuff. And it was like maybe the first quarter, Pam Meyer was running the live sound program. So I'm the house guy there. And I'm like doing hip hop nights and stuff and just everything. It just sounded like the bass was always kind of weak in there. But I know we had like a shitload of subs in the stage and a bunch of like I probably was running like 2,400 watts just for the subs.
Damn.
I was like, it should not sound this bad, but didn't know anything. I didn't know about phase or anything. So I go to school, I learn about phase, and I'm like, I wonder if our subs are out of phase. And it could just be like a cable that's wired backwards or like a sub inside the box that's wired backwards. So I go back to work the next day before we have a concert, and it's like 4:30 in the afternoon, and I start pulling apart the backs of the subs, and sure as shit, like half of them are wired in reverse. So when one sub is pushing out, the other ones are pulling in at the same time. Because you can get this phase problem when you just wire. If you got a positive and negative wire on a speaker, if one's flipped the other way, that'll tell one speaker to pull and the other one to push versus the other one.
Oh, okay.
So you like want to check your car speakers and stuff all the time. If it's not hitting like it should, check and make sure that like both either wires are going positive and negative, or that inside the box. In this case, the wires were good, but the inside the box they had wired up the positive and negative coils wrong inside the sub. So I resoldered those, and fuck, dude, my boss came to work the next night. We had hip hop night, and he's like, holy shit, dude, the bass sounds so crazy in here tonight. Like, this is the best it's ever sounded. I was like, yeah, your speakers are out of phase. And he just looked at me. He's like, what?
He's like, hold on.
I remember those
What's
days.
phase?
Because like the subs, like the amplifiers were always in the red. Like on the stage, we had like this rack of like Crown amplifiers, and they were always like just hot, like peaking, but there was no bass. Well, it's because the subs were pushing as much as they could, but the physics of it was like canceling. So they were pushing and pulling with a lot of energy, but they were causing zero volume.
That's crazy,
dude.
Yeah,
Wow.
So that stuff is good. That might be like way too advanced for
No,
the
I think
audience
it's-
without all these. But
I
yeah.
think that was really interesting. I
Yeah.
don't think everybody got to see the drawings and shit.
So
to, like,
kids,
put it together,
the
but-
circle with the little thing through it, that's a phase reverse button. If something sounds weird, like, and you're recording more than like one thing at a time, like acoustic guitar, you have two mics, pianos. If something sounds really weird, just hit the phase on one of them. You probably have a channel that's flipped. Or I've seen microphones come from factory that are like, especially ones from Britain, like the UK. They're sometimes like wired in reverse.
They're always on some fucking backwards shit.
Yeah, they're
over there,
driving on the
dude.
wrong side of the road. And
Yeah,
shit.
they're doing
like,
it. They're just like, fucking
I
Americans.
I have this RE20 like microphone that's kind of like an SM7B, and literally I have to remember to flip the phase on that mic every time because just from the factory that microphone is backwards.
Weird.
Huh. No, that must have been a really like good learning experience in real time when you're at school and you're like, wait, hold on, I could put this in.
Well,
there.
that's why I just so when I was in school, there was a website that was called the SpokaneRocks.com, and it was run by like the guy that used to run Jupiter Effect, Dan. I'll remember his last name, but Dan's a sick dude. He was in a couple bands that I was playing around with too, and he had this website. And all these clubs would post jobs for live sound guys and like bands to play and stuff. It was just kind of like, it was just a forum. It's like how you found out what to do and who to get a hold of.
Yeah.
So my thought was, okay, I just quit my job. I had a really crazy career in banking. I was an investment banker. I was like hating life. I'd been doing it for too long and playing music. And I was like, if I don't get out of this, I'm going to do this forever and I'm going to be miserable. So I just quit my job.
So how long when did you quit being an investment banker and decide to go to school?
So the story of that is I used to be in construction. I was a hod carrier in the Masons Union when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought I was going to be a bricklayer for the rest of my life because I was 18 years old, 1999, making like $25 an hour. Like
That's great.
I was living at the Beau Rivage apartments. I moved out when I was 17. Like my parents were like, you live under my rules, like you gotta, live in my house, my rules.
You're
I'm
like,
like,
I got money.
I was
I'm
like,
out.
I went to Running Start, so I was already 2 years in college by the time this happened, or like my year and a half in. So I was like, I think the thing with my dad was like pretty harsh. I said, yeah, well, I might be living under your house, but like I have more education than you and I make more money than you.
That's what you told
Total
him?
dick move. Like, I'm not happy about that. But at the time when he's like coming down on me, I felt it was like a good play.
It was a defense mechanism.
It was a defense
okay?
mechanism. And he was like, okay, try it. And I was like, I will. And I left. And I shacked up with my friends that I knew I was going to be working with that summer for Spilker Masonry. We were traveling around to WSU and U of I, and I was building like the rec center out there. I was building the bowler gym restoration project. I was doing Rite Aids and prisons, and
Holy shit.
dude, it was like, I was like pretty good shape for 18, like, you know, coming off of wrestling and football. And
Oh, dude, I
now I was
bet.
like carrying, you know, 16-inch block, 2 on each arm, like up scaffold, like big old genie lifts, like putting mortar up on 4 scaffold tie setups up there, like handling like 5 or 6 masons, like working with convicts. Like, dude, it was the best job ever for a young person. Just like, what do you want to do with your life? And so,
Yeah, there's something about just getting ripped out there in the sun.
dude, I remember living at the Beau Rivage apartments. They were brand new on the river by Avista, which we used to be called Washington Water Power. So you drive past that,
remember that.
super new apartments. All of my neighbors were Saudis and strippers in 1999.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It was like
When you said it, I didn't know if it was fancy or if it was ghetto.
No, it was super nice. Like they had like a weight room, like a courtyard, and I'm like 17 years old. The rent back then was like $1,600 a month for the 3 of us. And
Damn.
and I got, one of my friends was native, so he got like a check from the res. He didn't have to do shit. He just smoked weed all day and like got a check. And so we're like, well, he's guaranteed income. He's good.
The rent's paid. We're good
And
for
then
that.
me and my other roommate, Tony, I ended up getting him a job as spoker. So we were both Masons and we were both traveling and we were just killing, dude. I remember going to Rosar's.
Your one homie's got the blunt rolled. He's like,
He's just
my
like,
friend,
he'll be there.
they're never here.
No,
This
true.
is
Like
great.
he was at home all the
I'm
time.
just enjoying the home that we pay for.
We were home like 4 weekends a month.
Yeah.
Then I come home and I would go to that Rosar's over on like by
Brown
Trent,
Station.
or like what is it over there by Washington Water Power? It's in the ghetto now, but it used to be.
The one is that the Rosar's? Yeah, that's right over there, Browns Edition.
No, it's the
area,
one
or-
over there, kind of by Gonzaga. Like it's like
Oh,
Nevada.
is that Safeway?
Safeway. Sorry, yeah.
That's where like
Safeway.
the homeless people and
Back
the
then
college
there was
people
no
are there.
homeless,
Yeah,
but it was
they're
like,
together.
it was mostly
in
like
harmony.
college. But like I would go in there and I'd fill up my cart and I'd stick it into the fridge. Like, man, I can't believe okay, so they would pay us $25 an hour. If I didn't smoke weed, they call it your they like the color of your pee. They're like, if they like the color of your pee, meaning you didn't do drugs or anything, they put you on prevailing wage jobs. It was like $32 an hour for
Whoa.
like the big college jobs, you know. So I'm out there.
But
like,
if they didn't like the color of your pee,
then you
that's
just had to work.
25.
You just had to work like at the Rite Aid. But if you did a prevailing wage job, you could work at the colleges and
Crazy.
stuff. So and then they would give you per diem, so you could drive to U of I or drive to Wazoo, basically the same thing because they're right next door. And you could stay at a hotel, and they would pay you per day for a hotel room plus food stipend. So you're getting paid per diem, you're getting paid food and some mileage plus your wage, and all you got to do is stack up like 4 or 5 bros in a hotel room. Now you're only paying like $16 a person for a room. You're getting paid like 80 to 100 for a night.
Damn. Now you're just having fun.
Now you're killing it, right? So it was the best job ever. I thought, I'm doing this forever. Not a problem. Till I get to WSU, and then rush week happens. And WSU goes to school a lot sooner than like Eastern, right? So it's like early August, football's starting up, and all the sororities are popping off. And I'm like on the scaffold with a bunch of like crusty dudes, and we're just like grunting away, working. And I see all these chicks in cattle trucks, like getting driven around, and like hot girls, sorority girls in 1999. I'm 18, and I'm like, they're like catcalling stuff, doing all the shit that probably get you canceled today. And I'm like going, what is this? And another bro's like, it's rush week. Like the colleges are back in, like this is a thing. I call my mom up. I'm like, yo, like I got 2 years of college, and how hard would it be to get back into Eastern next month? So I was like, I could come back and do this. Let me finish up my college. I got 2 years done for free.
That's what got you back into college?
It was like the ladies, bro. Come on. They were, dude, I'm sitting there working with these bros all day. And it was like,
We know what the 18
pretty
girls
hot.
really want.
They were
You
and-
motivated.
We all had that exact same
Come on.
situation. We just didn't go like
You was
apply.
motivated.
He was like, "Well, I'm going. I'm
Like,
going."
I want to see what this. I want to see what this is about. So I sign up. I get involved, and it wasn't just that, but like that was a.
It's
I
a
remember-
motivator.
I remember
Yeah.
it was a motivating
That's
factor.
awesome.
Crazy.
So I get into Eastern, and I'm kind of doing my thing, and I meet my band, and I start doing some stuff, and then I ran out of money from the construction thing pretty fast because I also got involved with the Greek system. There was this house with like 12 dudes, and it was total Animal House. It was like it wasn't like jocks or anything. It was like the dudes that like played music and were super into just hanging out, throwing huge parties. I ended up living at this house called the Depot, which like we would have like 400 or 500 kids party out there. It went sideways pretty bad where I like ran out of money real quick. Always had people to buy beer for me, but then I ended up getting a job at a grocery store at XL Foods for like a few months to kind of because I was paying for my own college. I didn't have like a loan or anything.
the one in the hood
Really?
on 11th. In Perry.
This was in Cheney.
Oh, I know.
And it was on the outside.
outside.
It's called a Cheney Trading Company now, or
Yep.
maybe it's something different. That used to be
Yep.
an XL Foods.
Yep. XL used to be a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was checking in there and like boxing and stuff,
Yep.
and then I met this gal, and she was like a teller at my bank that I just opened up an account with out there, and she got me a job at the Washington Mutual. So I worked full time, 40 hours a week, all through college. Paid my way through college. It was funny. I was living out there, but I was driving to Spokane for the WSU campus down here by the shop, going night classes.
Oh, down here in Spokane.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they have an Eastern
Yeah.
campus there. So,
was like,
but I was
damn.
like, I don't want to lose my job. I got this sick bank job that I've been at for like 2 or 3 years. I guess I'll just keep going to school, but I'll just drive back. So I'm living in Cheney, working there, and then driving to Spokane to go to school. It's like so backwards. But I got that done, and I worked for them for a while. Worked my way up. They're like, "Yo, you're killing it." I had lunch or I had dinner with the CFO of Washington Mutual, like in San Antonio. Like they flew me. I was like top 2% sales in the nation, all this stuff, and kind of figured like, okay, this banking thing's kind of cool. And I was playing in bands. I was touring on the weekends, or like 4 weeks vacation they give you with the bank. So I was touring, getting paid. My band's like eating peanut butter and jelly, and I'm like pulling over and just ordering everybody like whatever they want.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Like bought a $5,000 RV Winnebago, like 70s, like C-Class. Throw everybody in the
Sick.
back. Got a trailer for my dad to throw all the gear in there. We're like driving to Portland, Seattle, playing shows, doing all this.
What was your band?
We were called Badfish, and then we were called Yard Sale after that for a while. But it was like
That's awesome.
skunk, funk, punk, reggae. It was just like,
Really?
yeah, it was super rad.
That sounds sick.
That's kind of how I got into all this. But so I'm dyeing my hair 10 different colors, putting on the wristbands, covering up the tattoos at work, and then dyeing my hair back to like brown for work on Monday. Like
No way.
yeah, because I had to go do bank loans, and back then like you couldn't show tats, and you couldn't have your hair messed up, and you had to wear like a tie and like a little vest, and it was so Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So I
That's
go
a fucking Batman Bruce Wayne.
no,
right?
dude,
That's what
it was lit. I would actually have shows, and like all the people at my branch were like, "Are you playing tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, come on down to like the Molotov cocktail room or whatever." And they like show up, and they're like, I'm up there just like, "There's another day until I let you go away," and they're just
Fucking
like
tatted up,
yeah, and they're
colored
like,
hair.
They're like,
holy
they're all
shit.
having a good time, getting drunk, and like here's all my branch. Like they're just people, but they let their hair down, and then they're like, holy shit, dude, your band fucking killed it this weekend. I used to rent out clubs. I'd literally figured this out like 4 or 5 years in, that we'd play a show, we'd get screwed because I'd be trying to find the promoter or the bar owner to like get paid the $150 they owed us, and they always seemed to disappear. Like, oh, we didn't have enough turnout, we didn't have this, that. I'm like, man, fuck this. So I went down to this bank, and they have this thing at Spokane City Credit Union. It was like a couple places down from the Washington Mutual. I used to work out on Northwest Boulevard where my house was too. And they were called Spokane City Credit Union. And you walk in and you get a signature loan. And what a signature loan is, like, if your credit's like kind of decent, you sign your name and they give you $2,000. It's literally a signature loan. And I used that money to go, and I would like buy tickets from Tickets West, print out 1,000 of them bitches, get on 94.5, get on with Foxy Brown, sell tickets. I would go give the guy at, I think it was called the the Voodoo Lounge or like the Big Dip, like whatever venue it was that held like 300-400 people. I'd give him $450. I'd pay the other bands $150 each. I'd promote all of it, and then we'd make like $3,000.
Damn.
In ticket sales. We'd sell them for like $10 a piece, and we'd pack the place out. So I remember the first time we did that, I'm like counting out the money to my band. I'm like, 2,000. They're like, we've been making 150 for 4 years.
Struggling.
All we had to do was rent out the venue ourselves, buy our own tickets, and do our own promotion. I'm like, and then pay the bands, and they were stoked. I got 2 good bands, so we started doing that. We were like our own promotion company.
Dude,
that's crazy.
That's honestly amazing because you were doing this stuff like super early, and I feel like a lot of that stuff is still. That's still the smart way to do it. Honestly.
Well, you got to figure it out. You get screwed enough times. You're like, I just watched 150 people come in your bar. Like, how are you telling me there's no money?
No, you definitely rent the venue and then take the control.
Rent the venue and say, you guys can make your alcohol, do whatever, and then we'll have our own door guy, and if you guys provide a sound guy, cool, no problem.
I mean, you're a smart fucking guy, man. I mean, even just at a young age, just to, like you say, you don't have the addictive personality. So when you're like, yo, I just gotta piss clean to get this better job, and then boom, and then you're just consistently moving.
Oh yeah,
ping into these different opportunities and making things work. That's
when
awesome.
I was 23, I think is when I came back to Spokane, because the day that I graduated Eastern, I bought a house, switched jobs to a new branch, and graduated all in the same weekend. It was kind of crazy, but there's a lot going on that months before that. So when I came back to work, or I was going to come back to work, it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to rent an apartment? Like, what are you going to do when you move? And I was like, well, what about a house? And I'm thinking in my mind, like, there's no way I can buy a house. Like, I don't have any money. I was like $200 in my bank account. Like, can't do that. And my friend's like, she's a manager. She goes, first time home buyers. I'm like, what's that? She goes, you go to a class. And they still have this to this day. Every time I run into a young person, it's like, I can't. I'm like, dude, do this. So I went to a class. It was like an 8-hour class, super big pain in the ass. You walk out with a certificate. You go hand that certificate to your bank, and they're like, oh, first-time homebuyers program. Cool. We're going to cover all your closing costs and wrap it up into the loan. Go find a house within this much money. Whoa, right? And you're like, what's the catch? They're like, you just can't sell it without paying like crazy gains, capital gains, whatever, for like 5 or 6 years. So I got to live here for 5 or 6 years, and that's it. And they're like, yep, like you got to pay for some appraisals and stuff. Like, can you come up with $700? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So I bought my first house. Like, it was, and this is the other thing. Like, can't be too picky. Like, you might get a house that's maybe like the worst house on the nicest block, or maybe it's in Hilliard or Brown's Addition or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're going to figure it out. Like, you're going to say, oh, this house is old, but it's mine. And then I can put new windows in it. And I learned how to do that. I went down to Home Depot. I got windows. I came home. I put them sons of bitches in. Yeah. I painted it. I put artificial siding on it. I kind of, you just kind of work on it. I built the studio in the basement.
I was gonna say, you put the fucking soundproof glass.
I did. I built the studio in the basement. And the thing about a house is, like, it's always going to go up. So I've never had a bank account in my life that made me $60,000 in 5 years, ever. I've never had an account where I just put a little money in and then it grew to like, I bought a house and it made me 60 grand in like 5 years. It's called equity.
Yeah. So
what I would do is I would go to the bank and I would say, I need a new Pro Tools system. I need to get into this place on Garland. They're like, well, how much is your house worth? I'm like, I don't know. And they look and they go, oh, it looks like it's worth $60,000 more than what you paid for it a few years ago. Cool. What can we do with that? She's like, well, you can have up to 20 or like 80% of your value. So like, let's say we'll give you 40,000 of that and you can go do whatever. Oh, by the way, you're basically your own bank. You can take that 40,000, you can buy whatever you want, and you just pay it back as you can with interest only, and then put as much as you can more on top of it to pay it down sooner, and it's all tax free.
Ooh.
And I'm like,
a HELOC.
A HELOC, exactly. So I became my own bank, and that's how I've funded all of my ventures forever, is like using the equity in my own house to like build up my businesses.
Jesus.
But you got to start, like you got to get that house that's going to get that equity, because all you got to do is just live in it.
Yeah.
You live in it, it's going up.
Yeah, and
for the most part, that's not financial advice.
It's really what it is. It's having
but it's yours. It's yours, and then you're going to use your own assets. You don't have to like I didn't have to go like once I got that HELOC, I didn't have to go to the bank and say, "Can I please get a loan for some equipment?" I just like walked in the bank. It's like, I need 10 grand. I need like a new DAW and like some stuff. And they're like, okay.
And the crazy thing is that it's not understood for someone who doesn't own a house is that as long as that amount is 80% of what the new evaluation of what your house is, technically, even though you're doing the right thing by paying it back, technically you don't have to pay it back because the value of the home has came up. So if you were to sell your home and actualize your profits, you're going to get recouped for the money you borrowed anyway.
Yeah, like obviously.
But you'll pay interest on it.
Yeah, obviously if you sell your house and you don't have a second on there, like you're going to have more to put down on the next one. So you got to be a little mindful of that.
Yes, of course.
But it's a good way if you're self-employed, whether you're in audio or film or you're trying to start whatever, like you're basically kind of becoming your own bank, and the interest rates are usually pretty low. Like I think at the time I was paying like 2.5%.
Yeah, that's the ideal.
So instead of going to get like a business loan for 8, they're just gonna rape you. So I figured that out early too. I was like, well, if I get my own house, I fix it up, and I can use my own equity to buy my own gear, then I'm just gonna do that.
That's a huge piece that someone like myself is still learning. Like I don't own a house. Cody owns a house, and so this is huge for all the people out there that are kind of in that same mentality where we're really trying to understand how you can use these things. A lot of people have resources available to them. They don't know they have.
First-time home buyers, for sure. Go to any bank that you trust. Ask them about where the first-time home buyers classes are in your area. Go to that, get that certificate, get into FHA home. And this is the other thing, and I think this is maybe just I'm not going to like group a generation of people into it. I could say, oh, young kids today, they don't want to live in a shitty house. But I have had some friends where I was like, hey, you know what? Like the first house I lived in was 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 700 square foot. It's not going to have granite countertops. It's not going to have the newest shit. It's not going to be in the nicest neighborhood, but like it's a starting point because
and you own it.
You own it and you're going to gain equity. So like go get into something where you don't have to put much money down, if any. A lot of these things, like I don't know, that was 20 years ago. I'm sure there's programs for anybody that wants to go buy a house without having to put 20% down. You go get into it, get started, start fixing it up, learn how to do stuff. Like I learned more about framing, plumbing, windows, like just do it yourself. Go to Home Depot and do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Especially with YouTube and anything that you could.
Dude, we didn't even have YouTube.
Yeah.
I just had to figure it out. Like I'm like reading like Bob Vila books.
Bob V.
So
come on,
but
Bob Vila.
But I know that houses are more expensive. But like sitting and paying what do they charge for rent now? Like $1,600 to $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
you could buy it. Like my house isn't even that much, and I live in a pretty nice house. It's like $2,500 a month, and it's a house I own at the lake. Like you should not be paying rent that much. Like go buy a shitty house or the nicest house. Buy the shittiest house in the nicest neighborhood.
That's it right there.
That's what you want.
That's it right there.
The
shittiest houses on the nicest block.
Yeah, like there's always one that's like the lawn doesn't look so good. It needs a new cup, some windows, and some siding, and probably some carpet. Like go buy that house.
Yeah,
fix it up, live in it for a few years, and then come back to me and be like, "Holy shit, dude! I just sold that house for $60,000 more than what I paid for it."
Because don't get duped into buying the nicest house on the shittiest
you
block.
bought a flip.
No, because then go.
Have you done some fix and flips and stuff?
I've only been invested in the houses. I've lived in 3 houses. The last one I built. We had
on the lake.
On the lake. We had a builder build it. Now that was a little crazy because it was like a month before the shutdowns, before everything went crazy. If a month later, I couldn't do it.
Wow.
But the month before, I got normal lumber prices, normal land prices, whatever.
Man.
But now you got to remember, I've been building on this for 20 years to get here. Like, it's not like I did this overnight. But my last 2 houses, my first house is one I told you about. My second house was a little bit bigger. I think I paid like $170 for that one. But again, I sold my house for $135, which I paid $90 for. So I kind of like almost doubled my money. And then I put that number minus the HELOC that I owed on the next one that was like $170. And then I sold that one for $350. So the other thing is like, as you get into these different brackets, the equity goes exponentially higher in the same period of time. So I lived in that first house for almost 10 years because the crash happened. The '08 crash happened.
The 08, yeah.
But the second one you didn't live in for 10 years.
But the second one I lived in for like 5 years.
Exactly.
But I made 80,
About
like 90 to
twice as much
130,
money.
let's say 40,000 over almost 10 years in the first house I made. And I made like 150,000 in 5 years on the next house. So like there's like levels.
Wow.
As you get up into the next house, which you're going to find in like 5 or 6 years down the road, you try to get a little bit higher level so that equity like exponentially is more. And the other thing I learned from somebody was like, don't live in a house for more than 7 years.
Well, that's good. I like that because I don't want to live in
So
the
what?
same
You
house
don't
for more
ever
than 7
plan on
years.
paying off a house?
No, I'll pay off this one.
Because this is a forever house on the
Yeah,
lake.
I live next door to my parents, and my goal with that was like, I didn't want to put them in a home. You know, I wanted to like,
Oh, so you're in your last house.
yeah,
and
like
if
my
you
parents
didn't-
live next door. We cut the property in half. I built my house here, and now it's like I help my mom put up Christmas lights and shit.
So would you say this is like your dream home?
Yes,
See, that's fucking
Cool.
awesome, dude.
we
That's
designed it. We
congratulations.
designed it from the like my mastering studio is like upstairs. Like
Dude.
I could. So to kind of go back to what you're saying, like I don't flip, but I've been doing this house thing with our own stuff, and then we bought the building downtown. So I was able to buy that warehouse again.
off of
shitty,
the exact same
shitty
system.
little warehouse, right? 1970s warehouse, needed stuff. It was a blank canvas, and me and two buddies went in there and we built the entire thing from scratch. Like concrete floors, rafters in the ceiling with pigeons and shit, block concrete walls. We built floating wooden floors, framed in live. Like we did it all. It's crazy.
Wow.
Cool. Good for
That
you.
took me a year. I was going down there, framing and sheetrocking. I sheetrocked for a month straight because you have to double the sheetrock on everything and double the walls, and then sand, and then texture, and then sand, and then tape, and sand and tape, and then texture. Sorry.
Jesus.
And the place is 2,400 square foot by 16 foot. That's huge. Did that for a month straight. I felt like that M. Night Shyamalan movie where the kid's like, one arm is like huge and the other one's skinny. I'm just doing this for a month straight. And then I'm covered in sheetrock dust. Like my hair looks like white. And because I didn't have any loans to do that, we were just like doing day by day. I was like, I'll buy the building. That's a whole nother side story as a hustle. But I'll come back to that. So I was able to procure the building from a private ownership because the bank at the 11th hour canceled the loan on me. I figured I'd been at Garland for like 5 years and I'm good. I'm like, I've been paying my rent, been paying Catherine. I've been doing my thing. She keeps raising my rent. It's like, I need to own my building. I need to, like my house. I need to own my studio. I can't keep paying these increases and these fees. I need to find a spot.
And so the seller held the note?
Well, so they eventually did. At first I went SBA and I was like, they're like, oh, you're good. You've got a good history, 5 years rental. Everything's good.
You had
Everything's
the
good.
amount down and
They
all
were
that?
like, we're going to give you this loan. You can go buy your building. We'll pay for the renovations. We'll lump it up in a nice loan and you'll be good. I go to Nashville. I get off the plane. I come back and we've been doing 2-3 months of paperwork, just this grind with the government, the SBA. And they go, I got bad news. They're like, you're not getting a loan. You're not getting the building. I'm like, what the hell? So I don't take no for an answer.
So you called the owner.
I look at my agents got me this packet and like back on the original like agreement, they had handwritten like, would your buyer be interested in a private deal? And at the time I was like, no, like they're going to be way too much interest, whatever. So I went back and I said, ask them about if they're still interested in that private deal. Guy came back. He goes, absolutely. He goes, I figured you'd be here.
No way.
He goes, SBA cancels everybody. He's like, they make it so hard. He's like, 8%, you pay me the full amount of the building back in 5 years, or I take the building back, or you refinance before then. So I'm like, throw all the chips on black. Like, hopefully I can
damn.
refinance this in a bank before then, because there's no way I'm coming up with this money before.
Yeah.
And this is just for the. I was like, does this include extra
Renovation?
capital?
This is
He's
no
like,
renovations.
No,
in there.
just the shitty warehouse.
Wow, what
So-
a fucking move.
So
stepping back from like they were gonna lump it all in, give you this nice,
Give you all
go
this
make it
time
easy. They were
and-
gonna make it easy.
now it's like
Now it's
there's
like
a
not
little-
easy.
little
Now it's like
gray
now it's like
area.
you
Yeah.
if you don't pay this back, he's gonna come take the building
He's
back,
taking the
plus
building
all the
back.
money I've been giving him. And you know anybody can do this. You can go
yeah,
buy a building.
I'm looking for the same situation.
Yeah,
right now.
go talk to the guy. Just be a baller. Know your information.
Yeah,
And
have
then-
some down. Have a good chunk of money to get him. In your situation, you might not have had.
I
to
didn't
put
have
any-
to come up with money down.
But
I
I
just
mean,
had to pay
that'll
him.
get people to flip from wanting a loan to kind of going to holding the note
Yeah.
as having that like, hey, I'll
his
give you.
his thing was like he just wanted 8% because he was like, I'm either going to sell this building or I'm going to make 8% off somebody when nobody was getting 8%. I'm like, all right, well the commercial banks are like 6, he wants 8. Okay, and then I just did that for a little bit till I got some money saved up, and I went down to a commercial bank and I said, let's refinance this, and they said cool, and then I paid it off. So
good
but-
for you.
That's fucking awesome, man.
So
Wow.
the whole thing with that, I forgot where I was going with that, but like we went into that place, we were scrubbing it down during that whole first 9 months to a year, and I'm like, I still have the studio at Garland because I'm in the last year of that lease. I'm literally working my ass off all day with 2 buddies. Thank God for them. And we're framing and sheetrocking. And then I'm going back to Garland at 6, meeting with a rapper and like covered in sheet, like doing a session till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Get a couple $100, get up early at 6, run down to Home Depot, get a bag of screws and some sheetrock, go back, do as much as we can do.
Who are your,
go back to
what were your homies' names?
Jesse and Josh Barton. Shout out.
Jesse
Josh and Jesse Barton,
Shout
they're
out to
brothers.
you guys, man.
Yeah, they're my homies. They're Josh was a rapper. I don't know if he's doing it much anymore, and then Jesse's in a band called Alive in Barcelona, and they're still
Live
killing
in
it.
Barcelona, dude.
Yeah.
We collabed with, we did the interviews for Live from Somewhere.
Yeah.
And so we interviewed them
So
on their
Jesse,
episode.
the bearded guy, that's
That was the
front-
dude that I think he pretty much led the interview. Yeah, he's a cool fun guy.
Him and I built that place. And he would go off on tour because he's like a manager for a couple bands at the time. So he'd be like, I got to go for a month. I'm like, fuck. And then he's like, but my brother will help you out. So like me and Josh did a lot too.
That's awesome, man.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
It really is the
What a
people
cool
that
story.
show up that show up for you to help you get the big vision done.
Yeah.
That-
You just have to be willing to like take a huge risk sometimes for your dreams, and that's what I see. People are always like, I can't do this. I was like, yes, you can, but you just need to like realize that like you're gonna fail. I failed on a lot of stuff, man. Like, but the things that I was always I never had a question in my mind about the studio. I was like,
Yeah.
even going back to like my house, I was dealing with, a lot of home recording guys, and sometimes you're busy, sometimes you're not. The price point was pretty low. Like I worked for free for a lot of years. I didn't charge anything. I'd pay like $100 for your record, maybe 5 years in. Like people call me, they're like, yo, can I get a deal? It's like, you missed it. Like you should have hit me up when I was starting out.
Yeah.
Like those days are over. Cause I did 5 years for nothing, just trying to like get my craft up. I worked some side jobs.
So that was some shit that really helped you get better at what you were, at your craft, at just audio engineering.
Yeah, well, I was working. So when I left the bank roundabout, I got back into live sound. That was the whole point of the story. It was like I got out of the
you
bank.
left the bank.
They're like we are gonna send you to Seattle for training. We want you to be like an assistant manager. Your salary's gonna go up, this and that. And I like looked at them and I go, I quit.
Damn.
And I came home. My wife's like, how was your day? I was like, well, like we just got back from San Antonio. We did all that cool shit with like the salespeople, met the CFO, had dinner. She's like, yeah, it was really fun. I was like, well, they offered me a assistant manager job, like grooming me for maybe manager, maybe regional manager someday. And she's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, yeah, like what? I was like, we might have to go to Seattle. And she goes, oh, okay, like cool. We just got the house, but okay. And I was like, and I quit. Like straight up. And she's like, what? And that was the day I knew I was gonna marry her that day when she was like, Okay.
Oh, because you guys weren't married yet.
You guys, no
we
kids?
lived together for like 5 years.
But you were so you were there. You were right there.
I was there. She was like, she's waiting.
Yeah.
She's like, any day now.
It's ready.
Wow.
And then I dropped that bomb.
moment.
I dropped that bomb, and she's like, "What?" So, but she's like, "But you're so good at it." I was like, "Oh," I try hard at whatever I do. I'll be fine.
Great.
And then so I went on that Spokane Rocks page, and I'm like, "Okay, now I quit. I got like a little bit of 401k money that I built up." But like as soon as you cash it out before you're retired, like the government takes half of it.
Oh, a ton.
So they took half. And I was like, okay, I got like 10 grand. I can buy like a microphone. I can get a dog.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to start.
No, but you were really all in. Like, I'm going to take
all
my retirement
done.
fund.
I quit. Like they're like put in my 2 weeks. Like I'll give you 2 weeks.
I'm going to
done.
cash everything out and I'm going all in.
So
What they? Oh, never mind.
dude, you're making the biggest mistake. I saw the guy that told me I was making the big mistake. Like 5 years later at Garland, he came by with his like new baby mama that he like. It's a whole thing, but he's like he got canned because Chase bought Wyoming, like fired all the managers. Like they fired all the managers. Like
And he was
everybody.
like, you made a good.
He's like, you did good. I was like, I got out. I hated that job. Like I like.
it was money thing, right? Like
It was the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, man. I wanted to do music. I wanted to be free and do this thing, and then I'd have to go put on a tie and like do this and like be fake. I felt fake as fuck.
No, I feel that. Yeah.
I had good customers. Like I took care of people. I got smart from them. I don't hate the experience.
You know, it's like what you said. You're like, I'm gonna try hard and be good at anything that I'm putting that effort into.
If a person came, I was the guy that like, if a person came in and the bank had jacked up their loan, like they had been trying to get a hold of this department, but now it's like routing to India and they can't get it done, and now they're like into foreclosure because some payment like didn't get paid, and some like I was like, I'll figure it out, and I would like, don't you worry, and I would spend all my time between dealing with customers, like calling people, and almost 90% of the time I could get whatever problem with whatever interest with whatever thing, I could get it like worked out, because it was like a challenge. It was like, because when you just like sit there and do new checking account paperwork, sign your name, like it's kind of boring.
Yeah, exactly.
But if like
Easy.
if someone's been dealing with an issue with a corporation where their shit just gets lost in the mix, where they can't, like nobody can help you because the system is like, you ever had that happen with like a cell phone
This
company
is
or
very
something?
familiar.
Yeah.
I used to work for the cable company, so this is very
like where it's just like, it's like, well, we have to divert you to here because we can't. And then I was like, I hate that
when
shit.
you can be that person.
No, I'm like, go home. I don't need to worry about this anymore.
Come back tomorrow.
That's a good feeling, honestly.
I will call you when I get this figured out. And I would just like calling all these people, like, listen, they can't do this because I need to talk. And I could like talk, and then I was like, okay, let me talk to this manager here. Cool. And I was like, a lot of my favorite line was like, listen, are we too big? Are we too big to handle something so stupid as like a $1,500 loan payment that got processed to the wrong account? Like this person, we either have a chance to be like their advocate, their hero, or we can be like the people that they talk about to all their friends at every party,
They
like
just
not to
gonna
go.
leave. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I kind of dug being like that guy. Like I like solving problems. I had a lot of good customers. I liked it when people would come in and they're like young people and they have like maybe a checking but like no savings, and they're just like, back then you used to have to like use a check register, you know, to like, because your debit cards would take a lot longer to process. Like you might go scan it at the grocery store and it would take like 4 days.
Wow.
So bro was always thinking he had money that he didn't have. I was like, you need to write this shit down. Like, bro, you don't have $100. You have $9.
Yeah.
He's like, but it says I have 100. I was like, yeah, but you were at the Globe and you were at the burrito place and you spent all this money. It just
remember this.
It just hasn't
Very,
come
You
through.
don't even
very-
change like that.
He's
honestly.
like, now I got $300 in overdraft fees. I'm like, bro. So I used to I used to help people like they would come in and I was like, I just can't save money. I'm like, how much money do you make? Like, let's start there. And they're like, I make like, $1,100 a month back then. I'm like, okay, what's your rent? Boom. What's your car? Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, see, you've got like $300 here. He's like, well, where's that all going? And I'm like, looking, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like GameStop.com, like, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, okay, you need to like, I would help people
get their shit together.
Like I was like a money guru.
Yeah,
I was like, bro, like you need to save some money,
Yeah,
like so you
you're
can
giving
start
people like financial literacy.
Yeah, like dude,
right there on the
$100 a
job.
month in a year, you got $1,200. You can go put that down on a whatever, a car, whatever you need
No,
to
because
do.
really, a lot of those people are sitting there and they don't understand. They don't understand the power of what of any of this shit.
They don't teach it in the
Equity.
schools. They
No.
want us dumb and stupid. I swear to God.
No,
They're-
it's
like
true.
they should teach
No, it's
everybody.
true.
If the public education system really gave a shit about underprivileged people, they would teach them all how to run stocks in the stock market.
But I heard that this is what I heard. And this might be one of the TikTok conspiracy things, but it might be. This could be real. I don't know. You have to look it up. But it was like the Rockefellers or whatever started the school system, and it was
For
to,
workers.
and it was to
100%.
create workers.
That's not a myth. Everybody knows
yeah,
that.
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't
You
know.
want to go back on how the Rockefellers made their money? They literally duped a whole country into thinking that they lost the war so that they could buy their currency at the lowest bottom dollar. And then by the time everyone found out that they didn't lose the war and that they won, then they just ballooned up. That's how the Rockefellers made their money.
Damn.
They duped because back then it was like carrier pigeons. That's how long it would take to find out who won or who lost.
God, you're right. So you could get in hella. You're like, we got a.
They're like, England lost. Oh shit, their pound is worth
And then
nothing,
people are
and they
freaking
bought it all up.
Oh my
And everyone's
God.
like, England lost, and then they're like, oh, actually they won, and then, oh, well now our currency's worth billions.
Well, then you see
Wow.
that mindset is to say, hey, like we just need people, like because if you have the mindset to dupe people to take the money, then you have the mindset to do the big dupe, which
Yeah.
is to say,
It's always information.
which is crazy nowadays because there's there's like less excuse than ever because there's so much. The information is just there. Like you could Google any question, we can chat GPT any situation, we can watch a YouTube video to frame any window.
I feel bad like when I see all these young people and they're like, I can't like all these people are raping, and I'm sure there is a little bit of that, but the market is the market. The market's always going to be higher. It's always going to be low. In 2008, the market was crazy high, and it's like, okay, well, I can't afford to buy a house. It's like, well, you're either going to buy a house here and then get equity or not. Like it might go down, but it's like
trying to time it as a motherfucker, and you're never gonna.
You're not
going
gonna
to
time it.
You're not
You just
gonna
have
be
to
like,
do it.
Like you get a house, like you said, the motherfuckers were building it in 2019, like right there at the COVID.
2020.
So it's like you're getting the.
I put my house up for sale. The sign went in the yard. We walked inside and we turned on the TV, and the governor was on there going, the city or the state's going to shut down tomorrow.
So
And we're
there's
like,
no way that you can plan that type of stuff. But you, in retrospect, are like, holy shit.
I still did it. I didn't
dude.
stop.
Like,
I'm like, well, we're going to do this regardless. I mean,
but still, you missed at least a little. Like if you would have started building after.
but it's not going to go down.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Like
Yeah.
everyone's like, well, when it goes down, it's like, it's not like this is our reality. So you can continue like,
You don't think housing prices or interest rates or both?
well, the interest rates they could go down. I mean, they were 11% when my parents were
I
starting
remember.
out.
Yeah,
Jeez.
someone
Carter.
was saying that the other day.
11,
was
12.
it 11%?
Yeah.
And then it went all the way
People were
down.
buying houses.
And then it went down to all the way down to like 0.
It just feels bad. You're
And now
at
it's up
11%.
to
Someone paying 1.
8.
You like, where'd
So-
you get yours at?
But you think the price of house is
Crazy.
not going to go down? You think 300K on the north side?
I've seen it go down, but I feel like it only just.
Well, here's
moves a
the
little
deal.
Tiny bit.
Here's the
you know?
deal. The market is the market, right? So if you have a shitload of people moving here and you have a lack of houses, they're not going to go down.
Yeah.
As soon
But
as
if you-
it starts to slump a little
soon
bit,
as-
it gets.
As soon as there's more houses
When they
than there
can't
are
sell 'em,
people, or
that's when
people
it-
to say, screw it, I'm not doing it, then they'll go down. But like,
But
what is the
Spokane
likelihood?
has a lot of growth.
Yeah, what's
before
the
it.
likelihood of Spokane having less people move here?
Yeah, that's true.
So my advice to anybody is like, just get a house in what you can afford and deal with it. You got your whole
Because
life.
it's going to go up.
Yeah, and you want to get in like
We're going to
the
have more
minute-
people here, and it's going to
Yeah.
raise
Generally,
the demand. and you're-
generally speaking, property is going to be a good investment or land.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna go up eventually. But besides that, just the fact that when you sell a place or move, you're not just like getting nothing. If you rent a place, and then you move, you get nothing.
Yeah.
But
But
if
maybe
you-
you're security deposit if you're lucky.
Right. But if you buy and sell a house, one, you're getting interest, you're getting tax benefits for the interest on the loan that you're paying. Generally, you're going to get equity and make money and have an asset to put down on the next bigger house you want to move to. When you have kids, you need more space. You're going to get a bigger house. But you don't need a huge space when you're starting out. Like, get a 1 or 2 bedroom house, worst house on the best block. But I think people are too picky. And I don't mean to say everybody, but
I think you're right.
I think people are like,
you're right.
Well, it's not the Kardashian. Like, everybody's like trying to keep up with whatever. Like, dude, you're 25 years old.
Or you feel like you're like, oh, I feel like I deserve this.
You
And
don't
it's like,
deserve
well,
shit.
You gotta yeah, exactly.
You're 25 years old. You need to be working your ass off right now, and then grow. It's like levels to it. Like, you need to go find a house. You need to put some windows in that
it's
bitch.
that right there, what you just said. Because honestly,
I don't see why this is so hard for
bro,
people.
that's an analogy that you can fit to so many things because there's levels to this shit.
Everything.
I
Like,
mean,
everybody
even-
wants to start out like what their parents were when they were 20
But
years
it's
ago.
just like,
It's like,
you didn't start out charging what you charge. Like,
No,
you
I was free.
You were free, exactly. And then when people are hitting you up, you're like, you missed it.
I was like, my favorite line is like, bro, you missed it. And they're like, whoa, what are you talking
I'm
about?
trying to get lumber prices at this. It's like, bro, you missed
Bro,
it.
I
That
gave
was
yeah, 1999 prices like free.
No.
Then we went up to like $15 an hour, and then over a few years I went up to like 20. Then I moved to Garland. I had to go to 35 because now I had 2 mortgages. Basically, I had my house and then I had the rental, which was crazy, and it was going up every year. And now it's like I'm finally kind of in the black after 20 years, and I get people like, "Oh, I'm trying to get free promotion." I'm like, "You missed it."
What would you say? Like, tell me a little bit about your experience on Garland and what that was like when you first got it, and how cool it was to be right there.
So cool. The vibe. I miss I love my new space, but the vibe sucks. Like, it's like this warehouse in the hood. Everybody knows East Pacific is like, you guys probably get a little bit down here,
East
but
anything. We're like, wait, where
yeah, it's gotten worse. Like, since I moved in it's been 8 years already. But when I first moved in, it was like, okay, like, I grew up in Spokane. I know this part of town. Like, I know that I'm getting a good deal on this building, because some of the buildings we looked at were like $500,000 to $1 million. And I'm like, I cannot afford that.
But you haven't had any issues or anything, right?
No, I haven't had issues. But I mean, it's sketchy, like, people show up, like customers, and like when they were at Garland, they were like, oh man, this place is so sick. It's the vibe. We can go to the Bon next door and get like a custom pre-prohibition drink.
Hell
We can
yeah.
go to the music shops, and we got this cool studio. Like, the vibe. I had arcade games in there and stuff. We'd be playing The Simpsons. We'd be playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
I feel like I missed out on a whole.
We had the whole basement I took, and I built that out. So I had Caleb down there doing Studio B. I put carpet in it, built all these rooms,
Yeah, I feel
wired
like
it all up,
this is
built all these traps. It was sick.
I feel like we're talking about the 70s or something
It
right
was-
now. Like, we're talking about a time in history.
No, you
that
just do it, man.
was
You just
fucking
build it. You just
awesome.
buy a
was the-
building
what
and
was the
put some
rent there?
traps up.
God, that's
What
so
did you pay for rent in the girl?
Yeah, I got to think about this. I think it was like 1,200, which was fucked, because before that, I know the guy was paying 8, and she's like getting hers, because it was like a time where like the economy was booming again.
Yeah.
Like, it was like after the fall, she had been not getting rent for a long time, and then it went up on me.
And you were the person to transfer out the next guy.
Yeah.
Now let me get a new opportunity.
But in hindsight, like now looking back, that
there
was
was
a good deal.
but there was a caveat to this.
do you want a beer?
Yeah. The caveat was she added this thing called cam fees, which were $160 when I started, but they were variable over the 5-year lease. So I didn't know what they could go up to, but them bitches went up to almost $1,700.
cam fee?
Exactly. I had to go dude, again, dumb business owner gets into a lease thinking everyone's friends, everyone's gonna be
Yeah.
on your side. Like, she's a cool indie theater owner, and I'm a cool thing, and we're all in this thing.
Oh, she was your landlord?
Yep.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
So until that son bitch flooded.
Oh,
I had just done all the work, and we had this huge rainstorm on Garland, and she had a bunch of gutters on top of a flat roof that had plugged up with leaves and plastic bags just from whatever. And the top of my building became a swimming pool. It was a membrane roof. And I go out into the lobby, and it was a roof like this, and all of a sudden these panels started going drip, 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 drip. And I'm like recording, and we're in the lobby, and it's like a tile floor, and we're hearing like bloop, 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 bloop. like,
While
it
you're
starts to
recording.
it starts to turn into like a waterfall kind of sound, like a stream flowing.
Oh,
And we
shit.
go in there, and I look at all these panels, and they're like and we hit it with a broom handle, and it goes. The whole lobby's filling up with water. It's going down my hallway. All my flooring I just put in. We're
my
like
God.
covering the consoles. We're getting all the
Oh
like
my
water down. We're
God.
going,
And you have
"Oh."
electrical equipment in here, and
Bro. So we had to
Oh,
call like all
wow.
this shit. Anyway, so those cam fees were like in the paperwork, she owned the bonbon and some other stuff, and it's like common area. So those can go up because they do like cigarette butts and they pick up like
wait, what is a cam fee?
common area maintenance fee. It's
Common
like if you go into the
area
mall
maintenance fee.
or if you go into a strip mall or a mall,
Okay.
like there's like the shops,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like all the space in between
Yeah,
that
okay.
the
Then
customers
we
use.
walk through stairs.
Right. Well,
all
someone's
that.
got to take care of that shit. They got to pick up the cigarette butts, and they got to like do the garbages and clean the public bathrooms.
I
And
see. Okay.
so the way that hers was kind of set up was like that. It was like you got all these shops, and there's like a parking lot that everyone shares. So totally legal. Like she's not wrong. Like
yeah,
she can
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But she can pretty much charge whatever she wants for the fees. Everyone, and they went up and up and up. So I'm not like I don't. This
But
is
it's
not,
good to know about.
This
I think
is not a shit talk section.
This is all good for people
This
who
is just
are,
you don't. I didn't know.
But this is awareness.
Yeah,
For
I
the
didn't-
next person.
I
that,
didn't know what
Yeah.
they were, and I didn't know how it worked. And
Fuck, I didn't know what it was.
And
so.
she was trying to do what she was trying to do, and I was trying to protect myself. And ultimately, I just said, I'm just going to buy my own place, and we're friends to this day. She's like, you guys are the epitome of business owners that like learned your shit.
Yeah.
She's like, just like she had to when she bought a $500,000 building that's now, you just have
That's
to be
cool.
smart. Go
She
through the
still
paperwork.
owns that same place.
I don't know. Shout out to the Garland district. I love it. Was the vibe there was super sick. I'm super grateful for them for letting us have that opportunity.
And how long were you there for?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at now.
Yeah, the vibe at my new place is not the same as the Garland. I love the Garland, but I love the fact that I own my own building and I could build it however I wanted and
Yeah.
stuff. I just wish that I hate to say it, but I wish the gentrification would happen. I wish that the
Yeah.
streets and the sidewalks and the everything
Would
they
get a
did
little
on
nicer.
Sprague would come in,
Yeah,
Oh, it
do
will.
you-
It's coming down to Pacific for
I
sure.
hope so.
You got some arcade games in there?
No, I got like upstairs loft, little studio B that patches down. I've got like a TV and some video games and stuff. But
Hey, you got some video games.
but the other place was special. I've got videos on there of like these like metal kids in there just like whooping up some Street Fighter. And
Oh, that's
I
so
got
cool.
Pepsi to come bring in a machine in there and they could get the Pepsis and the stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
What would you what's been the biggest struggle in your whole journey as an audio engineer and in business in general? Just we've obviously covered like a ton of stuff, of a lot of gems that I feel like future people, because that's what I really like to give this type of information. You're a smart dude, and giving this type of information to people who are maybe coming up and want to kind of blaze their own path or be able to start their own thing, regardless of what that is, whether it's being an artist or being an audio engineer. I guess what I'm asking is, what kind of advice would you give like young people that want to start right now?
Just be patient. Like you gotta see the long game. Everyone's so focused on the what can I do that's gonna make me this in like 6 months or a year. Like you gotta think like come up with like a 15-year plan, like a 20-year plan. Like think like, I'm young. I got like what's the end goal? It's gonna take a while. Sometimes it doesn't, but for me it's been about 20
And would
years.
you say that you were thinking about that, like when you were, say you're 25, were you thinking about a 15-year plan, or is in retrospect you're like, think about the 15-year
I was probably
plan?
thinking like 6 to 7 years out.
Yeah.
On a thing like, okay, I'm in the basement, like I'm gonna ride this out, and then maybe eventually I'll get to like a commercial space. And this is kind of going back to what my advice would be is like, don't quit your day job, because you're gonna need money, right? And you're not gonna make money when you start. Like most businesses don't make any money for like 3 to 5 years, like legit. Like don't. You're just gonna spend a lot, and then eventually you're gonna build a name for yourself, and it's gonna fly by. 5 years. I've already been at my new spot for 8.
How many people quit within that 3 to 5 years?
90%.
That's crazy.
I mean, you talk to anybody who started a business, they'll say that probably most people quit within 6 months.
God, I know you're gonna look at me. Yeah, we're almost on year 10. So
Yeah, that's
so I mean,
awesome,
you
man.
know how it is. I completely agree.
Yeah,
with you.
3 to 5 years to like get, and then like right now I could say like Mandy and I are like, oh, like I don't have to work 80 hours a week right now. I can work like 40. Like it's nice. Like got a nice name, but still you can't get caught sleeping. Like it's easy to get comfortable. So I'm still like trying to figure out. So my advice would be like, don't quit your day job. I didn't quit the bank or like until I knew that, well, that one I kind of did, but I went into live sound, did that job down at the club, and then went to school at the same time. So again, I was going to school during the day, working real job at night. Then I got that segued into, I worked for the arena for a year, and I shout out to those crews, INB.
Doing sound over there?
Just everything, man. Like I was a tech, I was a black shirt. So I put up all the fiber optic cable in the arena. I did.
Oh, shit.
I ran the lighting console up during the hockey games, the M7. I don't even know what they have now, but Tech World, you know, I was like I was running cameras for hockey games, like just anything and everything. I was running out lav mics at the INB Center for like corporate events. I got to meet all these politicians.
And
these
this is all
dinners.
shit that you learn just kind of honing your craft as an
I mean, you know how to run a microphone, you know how to make a projector work. You know, if you're a techie guy, like they teach you figure it out. You get, it's like bros, you know, like, oh, here's how to run a camera, you know.
So there's definitely an element of like betting on yourself for sure and saying like, you know, I don't know everything about this.
Hell no, I didn't know anything, but I knew that like if I like was confident that I would learn.
I feel like that is a huge lesson right there, because so many people have so many skills that they don't know, or so many things that they could achieve or could be good at that they just don't.
You're gonna figure it out. When you're in it, you're gonna figure it out. You might fail a little bit, but you're gonna like learn from that or figure it out. Like,
so put yourself in that.
yeah,
put
make
yourself in the line of
make
fire.
it uncomfortable for yourself. Like
Yeah.
if you feel like you have to go to college to like learn a specific skill and you can't do a job, like that's not the way to do it. Like
Yeah.
that's like college is there for like all college is to like unless you're like a specific like specialized thing.
I'm brain surgeon.
Yeah, or maybe you have to learn the law. I mean, even lawyers, I think they go work for Foreman, then they have to like learn how they do it, right?
Yeah.
So anybody going to college, all it does, quoting a TV show I saw, which is perfect because it's totally true. All college does, or any school like that does, is it says to somebody that's going to pay you that you show up on time, that you probably put in some work, and aren't gonna fucking flake out and quit in like a week.
Oh my God! So it's just the bare minimum type of.
That's what they say. Like, I just
qualification.
want to know that you showed up to a place for 2 to 4 years and got up at 8 o'clock and did what you're supposed to do,
Ugh.
and that you're actually gonna show up and not be a piece of shit. Like that's
not-
pretty much what college
And
is.
that's not what people have in mind when they think college. They're like, "Oh, this is like
Yeah, how
gonna
many-
teach me all the things."
And then if I don't
that-
get a job in my field, like I have a degree in like marketing, like business marketing.
you do some of that though, right?
Yeah, but like the business marketing that I learned was like product price and placement. Like there was no social media.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
I forgot about
It
the
was like
3 Ps.
Friday sale. Like it was not the same as it is today at all. There wasn't even a fucking TikTok or barely a
No, so
Facebook. It was called the Facebook.
No, that's another reason school's kind of fucked up, is because it doesn't match it. Like it's not future proof, so it doesn't like. You know, when you're thinking, I heard this where it was like kids are going to school, but they're going to have jobs that don't exist yet. So how do you teach a kid to have a job that doesn't exist yet? So when we were in school, when we were in junior high school, it was like, well, you ain't going to bring a calculator everywhere you go. You're not going to have a camera in your phone. You're not going to just be able to ask something, and it's just going to tell you that, you know, because.
And they were wrong.
Or just if somebody was a social media influencer and they're like, dude, I make $180K a year doing TikTok, and my teacher would have looked me in the face and said, you're fucking crazy. Like, or whatever that thing is, a vlogger, whatever it is, audio engineer, whatever it is, if you would have said that, like, be a doctor, dude.
Everything.
Like, go be a, like, what are you talking about? Because they're
Everything-
thinking 10 years, 20 years
Yeah.
behind, saying this is
Yeah.
how you do it.
Everything that happened to me, I put myself in a position to be in the right place at the right time. Like I quit the bank to go do into music. Didn't know it was going to happen. Went to school, met some people, went down to the club and was like, I want to take your job position, available for the live sound guy. And they're like, really? Like you've been playing shows here, Jimmy? Like they all knew me from like playing in bands. Like, you want to be the sound guy now? I was like, yeah. And then the guy Terry's like, you ain't running shit for 6 months until I say so. I'm like, 2 weeks later, I'm like, earn my keep. It's like, you got it. He's sitting at the bar with fucking horns on his head, drinking fucking screwdrivers. He's like, you got it. I mean, you just put yourself out there. Like, don't take no for an answer. But don't be like these annoying people that call me up and like, hey man, can I? I was like, you know what, dude? Like, if you showed up,
what did they say?
Like, if you showed up and like were like articulate and smart, and then you just have to be a cool person. You know, like you got to be like the right person for what you're. Like,
what are they asking you though?
Like to work in the studio or do whatever, but like everybody wants a paid internship now too. It's like, if I could just get like $25 an hour so I could quit my job and be an intern. I'm like, bro, I'm old school as fuck. Like, don't quit your job. Come down here, work as like 40 hours here and 40 hours there, and then you're gonna show me something. Like, then I'll give you the keys to the kingdom, not a problem. I have yet to find one person this age that will do that.
But that's cool though.
I would do it.
You're open like that. That's what's.
But like the expectations, like when I was coming up, and I hate to sound like the old guy in the room, but that literally was the expectation of people in the sound world. It's like, you will sleep at the studio and work whatever job you have to figure out, and I will teach you everything I want to know, and then in a year you'll probably be good.
It's because the knowledge is the thing that's the valuable. Like, it's not, I need to get. I mean, I get it because motherfuckers are paying rent pretty high, so I get it. But at the same time, it's the knowledge, it's the long game. It's if I take this will actually teach me how to fish.
It's a risk. Hey.
But I mean, it's like you're not getting paid for it now anyway.
No, but it's a risk.
It's like if you love it, then come learn it for free.
Everyone's always like this. Like, what can you do for me to make my life easy? Like, if you just pay me to be your intern, I'm like, I mean,
you're lucky that Jimmy wants to even just give it to
whatever.
you.
It's just,
so you got to just do, as that person, you got to do whatever it takes to just be like, Jimmy, please.
This is the school that I grew up in. This is. I mean, I'm sure there's people that do it that way. This is my dojo. This is the way that my sensei taught me. Like, you're gonna. I want to know who's for real.
Yeah. Well, you find out quick.
Yeah, because they're like, well, I can't do that.
Action.
I gotta pay my rent.
People will say anything. People will say anything.
So do I.
People will say, but are they there? Do they show up? Is the effort there? Is the engagement there? Is like, you can tell.
Yeah, you're getting a free education, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I charge people like $20,000 to learn what I would teach you for free.
You're kind of like looking, and I feel like you're looking for like a like you're looking for
exactly. I want to be done. Like someday, like now I got a few years left and I'm going to retire.
But I mean, even just in the mentality and the hunger and the confidence and at some point it seems almost like a blind confidence. Like you're like, look, I'm going in. I know what I'm worth. I'm just going to figure it out.
Like, okay, you have to be that crazy to do this in a market like this where none existed before you.
Yeah.
Like, you think about this. When I left my house, you talk about the scariest thing that ever happened or like the craziest thing. I was going to say calling my friend, and he ran a studio just like I did in our basements. He was doing rock bands. I was doing metal bands. Mm-hmm. And he's like, calls me up one day and he goes, so I heard you're thinking about moving to Garland and doing a commercial space. And I'm like, yeah, dude, we're trying. We're getting the paperwork done with this lady and we're going to give it a go. And he's like, usually I wouldn't say anything, competition friend, whatever. But he goes, I think you're making a big mistake. He goes, I would not. He's like, yeah. He's like, I've been doing this longer than you. Like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is going to be a bad idea. Like, you're going to lose a lot of money, basically. And I was like, oh, okay, well, got to give it a shot or I'll never know. And I swear to God, like 6 years later, I'm at the knit. I'm up in by the soundboard with Bill Neiman, and he walks up. And we're having beers. He's like, I was so fucking wrong. He's like, you have fucking killed it.
Wow.
And I was like, He's like, I'm so glad you didn't take my advice. And I'm like, dude, you weren't the only one. Like, my parents were like, don't do it. Everybody was like, do not try to be a local recording studio in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
Like, bad idea.
No, if you really look at it.
Two
like,
rents?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna try to mix and master records for people for like $100 and then try to pay 2 mortgages? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? So you go sell T-shirts.
Like
there.
when you zoomed out, especially when you were like, I quit my bank job.
Yeah.
To
No,
do
like
this.
I
They're
gave
like-
up a lot of money.
They're like, what are you?
I started over, like, and
you
went
were
backwards.
shoot in. You were good, and you're just
It wasn't
like,
about the money though. For me at that point, luckily for like as you get older, it's like, oh, you got kids getting ready for college, you're trying to pay off stuff. It's like money is a factor because you want to be comfortable. I don't want to be like 50 years old, like starving. You know, I don't want to do that.
No, dude.
I'm already 42. I got a few years left. My ears are getting tired. I'll do something with the space. But back then it was like, I can't hear any of you. I know everyone's saying no, but like I just want a bigger drum room. I want a better space to record in.
So you
That's all I
say
want.
like for young people, it's huge to take risk.
Everything in business is risk. You have to look at this Spokecast place. Like, do you think that these would be easier doing it in their basement? No. Absolutely, it would be way easier.
We record in our basement.
But getting a building and like doing this, it cost like it's a huge risk. But I want to go here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you were like, come over to my house, I was like,
That's why he moved.
We could still get you there, but
we
you
had
would feel
like
a little different about
funny
it.
story. We had one of our biggest episodes in the basement of my house. We had to like move to my basement after we left the place, and we had Joel Barber, great P&W, and we had to get Joel Barber to come to my basement.
Yeah, that was. I remember that.
And he like showed up to my house. I mean, I'm buddies with Joel, but like,
Yeah.
But he just like he did not. He was like, you could tell. He was just like,
No, you can know how you can tell.
This is fucking weird.
He said
He gave us a hard out.
Yeah, he gave us a hard out when we first got there. He's like, I can only do an hour. And then I had in my head the whole time, like, oh shit, he's got to be out in an hour. And I'm talking to him, and you could tell as soon as people get into this space, people, not this physical space, but just this podcast space, people are like, bro, I could do this all day.
Yeah.
I could do this all night. He's like, he didn't want to stop. I was like, I thought we got to stop. We got to get out of here.
I've got the guitarist from Fear Factory on something that I don't know if he was like the touring guy or was like on a record or something, but I got this tour bus outside my house on Northwest Boulevard behind Pete's Pizza. That was my first house, that first one I was telling you
Pete's.
about.
Oh, man.
I'm like up behind Pete's. This
Yeah.
was my first house. It's like this little
I'm
house.
a North Side guy. I
Yeah,
love
it's a dirt
Pete's.
road. I didn't even have a paved road next to me. It's a little dirt road with like a women's home next to me, right? And then you go down through the cracked sidewalk and down the back and then down this narrow door and boop, 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 down the stairs. And then the other side would go up to the kitchen and the bathroom and like the house. So the basement of the student, I got this tour bus outside with this band from LA. They just had a song that ripped off on the show Entourage and stuff. They're from LA. They're on tour. They hit we faked it till we made it. It was like Warner Brothers was sending me these people.
Whoa.
They're like, do you have Pro Tools HD? I'm like, yes, I do. I got a poor man's HD system. Sweet. Where are you? Here we go. They show up and they're like looking around. There's like a fucking crackhead in the park, like, and they're like at this house, like they're expecting like a studio, like a Spokane, and they're like, what is this? And then they kind of go downstairs, and I had done a good job. I put like wood floors in and the brick and so it looked kind of like my studio now, but like in a very small version. So he's like, we start working together, and she's actually she went on America's Got Talent or American Idol. Leonetti, can't remember her last name was Leonetti. Back then it was Nikki and Rich. Nikki Leonetti.
Oh, okay.
She actually went on to be like a big thing, but at that time she was trying to make it. She come off a Christian label. Now she's in the secular market, and they done this song called The Next Big Thing. And Coca-Cola picked up the song, and they wanted to change it from like the next best thing to like the next big thing. So they got to change like a lyric, remix the vocals, master. So I'm like cutting vocals, doing a quick mix and a quick master.
Yeah.
In like 4 hours.
Okay.
So they're in there singing and doing their thing and whatever, and the guitar player's doing his thing, and he pulls me aside. He's like, "This was really good, man." He's like, "You're really good." He goes, but you got to get the fuck out of your house. He said that to me, like literally, like smoking a cigarette outside my house. I'm like, okay, I know, dude. And then it was like next winter is when I found the place, and that was like that just stuck in my mind. And I'll tell you what, another thing. I didn't mean to sound snooty or conceited about saying I wouldn't go to. I've done podcasts in a lot of basements. Like I have. I don't.
I'm
care.
very confident that we could have got you in the basement.
I would definitely go to your basement. I don't care. It's
I don't care.
it's a thing. But like for people that like when they get to a certain level and you have clients that like want to feel a certain way and you want to expand your business and maybe make some more, whatever. Like it is a thing.
Yeah.
A guy that was a mentor of mine, friend of my parents, he was basically got divorced. He'd worked for a company for a long time. He got divorced. He's basically living in a van down by the river, like literally, like at 47. By 53, he's a multimillionaire.
Whoa.
So he started a separate company with some partners. They built it up. They put in like security systems for prisons and like
What
schools and
the
shit.
fuck?
Sold it, and they made shitloads each. And then they were on for as consultants for like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So when this guy tells me stuff, I like listen. He's like robotics guy. Like he built me a microphone stand that like worked like off of like mechanics, so I could like sweep speakers with it. Super. He builds. He builds land speed record cars. Like they go to the salt flats, but see, like you can't just go to Napa and get parts for a land speed car. You have to go to a machine and machine them yourself.
Holy
and
shit.
wire all the electronics yourself to get these weights down to like precision where they're going to fly down 300 miles an hour down the salt flats. This is this guy's mentality. He's like super smart guy, like alien smart.
Dude, what a fucking insane thing.
And he just like is like my parents' neighbors, because he likes my dad because my dad's like a normal dude. Like my dad's like a car guy. Like we owned a automotive repair shop in Spokane for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So they kind of hit it off, cars and cars. So my dad's like, I'm just hanging out with these fucking millionaires, like hanging out, you know, they're cool.
So this dude was in a van by the river and then became
got
a millionaire?
divorced. She took it all, whatever. He's like build up a life. Now that's how fast you fall. And then he starts the company again. And like 5 years later, he's like selling it for, each of the partners sells it for like multi-million dollars. So anyway,
that's wild.
so this guy's, he's got, I'd say he has a mentor experience level that I can like respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's like, oh, I don't know. Don't move. Like, you got a good thing in your house. It's music. It's local music. It's never going to make money. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Just pay your bills. You don't have this. And then he comes along and he's like, he said some shit to me. It's like old school, but like kind of, I don't know if I like it. It stuck with me and it served me well. Maybe it doesn't work today, but back then it worked. He said, I don't know what everybody else is telling you, but he goes, Jimmy, I wouldn't get my hair cut at your fucking house. I wouldn't get my oil changed at your house. And I definitely wouldn't record my record at your house. And I'm like, damn, bro.
Damn.
Like, fuck. And I'm like looking at this guy's got like shitload of money. Like, I don't know how to take this, but I was like, he's like, you want to step it up? You want to like impress people? You want to get those Tech 9s and stuff? I was like, I do. He's like, I said, go for it. He was like the one guy that was like, and my uncle Mike, who also is like a flipper in Seattle, like does the life insurance thing, like flips.
And
he's
all
balling.
about it too.
He's balling.
But he's giving you the game.
I went over and
kinda
visited
like,
him and Spanaway, and he's like, do it. He's like, just do it. He's like, are you good? I'm like, I think I'm okay. He's like, then do it.
Though, look, that's another gem that I want everybody to marinate on, because it's like that there's gonna be 75% of the people being like, don't do it.
Everyone's gonna be like, don't do it.
But there'll be this like smidgen of people that you'll run into that are like,
yeah, so look at the people that are telling you don't do it in their situation, and then look at the people that are like doing stuff. I guarantee you, like, some of our customers are like Rocket Bakery, like on my wife's side with the merch and stuff.
Yeah, love Rocket. Yeah.
She like Julia is the nicest lady, and I imagine like how many employees, how many branches. She is a boss. A boss. Julia is amazing. I love Julia. Thank you, Julia, for all the business, by the way, if you're listening to this. But like, she started out with like one little, I think the first one was on Garland. I think that was like the OG place.
Wow.
And now she's got a bakery. She has all this stuff going. She's got a roasting company. Like,
Oh, really?
It just
Wow.
and it took her like 30 or 40 years, to build it up. It just takes a while. But like those are the people you want to listen to.
No, because those are the people that took the risks.
Yeah. And she
And
started out with like a coffee shop.
The other people are the people that are afraid to take the risks, right?
Well, everyone's afraid, but like some people are.
But that won't.
Yeah, you got to get over that.
That fear will hold them back, and they'll say, "Don't do it, bro."
Yeah,
bad
don't listen to that
idea.
voice. That's a bad voice to listen to.
And it's fucked up because it's not like a
Even
voice in your head, right? It's like a physical person saying
Who you normally trust.
it's who you normally kind of try. Like you're like, oh, you're my friend, and they're saying like, don't do it. And then there can be this piece, and there was this piece in your brain that was like, probably like, okay, but I gotta figure this out by myself.
Yeah, but okay, so let's say that you try something and everyone's like, don't do it, and then you fail.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
That's another resilient piece right
What did you
there,
learn?
where you feel where a person could easily feel like,
what did you learn? Don't do that again. Do it a different way.
see, so because someone could really obviously be discouraged and say, oh man, they were right. I should just get a job. I should just do.
Some people should just get a job.
Yeah.
Some people they think like, I'm gonna be able to set my own hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Those people should keep a job because you are not going to set
Well,
your
I
own
heard,
hours.
I've seen all the memes, especially on the holiday season side, where it's like, yo, man, I was working like 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, and then I started my own business. Now I work 24 hours a week, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, so it's like you think that you're gonna like chill and just have a business, but really you work 24 hours
Okay.
just to get something moving.
In my position, I'm me. Like I am kind of the business. Like I don't have like a corporation that like makes things with like a bunch of departments. So like if I go down, if I get sick, which happened to me like last month, got the flu,
Damn.
down for like a week, bro. I'm not paying the bills. I'm just sitting in bed, just like stressing. Like I gotta get back to work.
And you physically can't.
I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
I can't even.
That's
I can't.
fucked up.
I can't
That's
even leave the
messed up.
toilet, dude. I'm just like, just
Yeah.
dying, and I'm like, that's the stress I have. Whereas like you work for somebody else, like you get some sick time.
You just take off.
You just take off. You just
Yeah.
do whatever. Like deadlines. When I start a project for somebody and I got like 12 bands spinning, and everyone's like completing, and now they want their mixes done, and a new band's starting, and I'm trying to like balance all this out to like make sure that people get stuff in a timely fashion. That shit wears on you 24/7. You're like, I've got 15 things to finish. This band's not quite done with I'm backed up now, and I got 10 new projects starting. I don't know when I'm gonna get this done. Like you just sit there in bed and just think about this all day. When you work for someone else, you don't give a shit.
So is this your brain, or like how are you able to really like balance that like stress from work, especially being a business owner, from being at home with your family and just being like
That's rough.
being
dude.
the family
tough.
person?
We still struggle with that because my wife and I both work for our company. She doesn't have a job either.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're both amplified wax. She's
I'm very interested to know how that dynamic works, because
it's something I struggle with daily to perfect, and I'm still not great. I'm probably still like level 2, like mage.
yeah.
Like I'm not. My XP on that is like I could learn so much more on how to be a better balancer, and
but
like,
you still have a lot of experience.
well, yeah, and we've been doing this, like she's been under the company for like, when my second kid was born, 12 years now. She's been
Wow.
on her own. She left Castle Promotions when our second daughter was born, and we still have trouble like, okay, dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
Kids come, I make the kids come sit down. We have a little 4-person table, my wife and I and the 2 girls. And that's not the time to talk about, hey, did you get the invoice out?
Yeah.
But that's what always happens. And the kids are like, they're like programmed to like, they deal with it. And we have literally paid for the food, the gas, the lights, the rent, all that stuff off of Mandy and I's business for the both of us for the last 11 years. And me, she's working for someone else. That was nice because at least she had benefits. Now it's like we don't get to go to the dentist and get benefits.
Yeah.
We got to pay out of pocket. because I'm not going to spend $200 a month just in case someone needs to go get a whatever
It's a different-
someday.
What's up, Brennan? What do you?
You run Amplified Wax all by yourself, you and your wife.
Me and my wife.
Like you don't have any techs.
I am all of it.
I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
All the
I'm just
editing.
like what you're saying to me is just like everything I'm starting here at Spokecast, and I'm like, and it gives me hope because I feel it, like I feel like it's coming, but at the same time, like I'm in year 2, and I'm like, it is like one of those things, like it's just like, but like the similarities are pretty crazy, and like, but it gives me hope. Like I think what you're doing is amazing at Amplified Wax. Like you're, like I mean, everyone that records, like they were like, I'm like, where are you recording at? They're like, going to Amplified Wax. Like I talked to my buddy Jinx Universe. He's like, I'm doing a session there and at the end of December, and I'm like, he's just like, he's very pumped for it. But I was just like, I figured you just had like a crew. But
I should if I was, but I just I've had people like Sherm, like Chef Sherm. He's doing his thing. He's a great rapper. He started out as a client back in the day. He was like 18, 17 years old, and he was one of those guys. He came to me and he's like, yo, like, I want to work for you. And I'm like, I'm not. Like, everyone says that. I'm not really interested. And he, like, years kept coming to me as a student, like, as a client. And then he started doing this thing where he was like, well, if you keep saying no, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay you to do a song with me, but I want you to show me everything you're doing while we're doing the song. I'm like, okay, it's your time. So
Damn.
I'd be like,
that's smart.
I'd be like, here's how I pick the mic. Here's how we like get the distance right. Here's what I'm listening for. Here's like the chains that I'm like using on your voice and why. Here's the mic placement. Here's the mastering. And then he went off to Seattle. He worked for Chris Pock for a while under another studio there, and then he came back with knowledge because he threw himself into that position. He went in. He's like, listen, I know from what I've learned from Jimmy, and Chris kind of knew about me. He's like, okay, and they threw him in a room like this, with a U87 and a Apollo, and he would just record rappers all day long. Like he's like, and they were Seattle's crazy. He's like, Seattle's crazy. He goes, guy comes in, he's got 2 hours. He comes in, the boss of the whole place. He does not an engineer. Maybe he was at one time, but he owns like 10 rooms. Chris Pock was like in the big room, but like he had all these side booths, and like Sherm was like a side booth guy. It's like under Chris, and he would come in and be like, yo, how long that guy's been here? He's like, hour and 50 minutes. He's like, but he's not done. He's like, 10 minutes, he's out. Like, they're like, damn, you got 2 hours? You got 2 hours.
Wow.
Next guy in. And so Sherm did that for like a year.
Wow.
Just working in there, like real world, Seattle, under Chris Pock, under this dude who owns the place. Don't give a fuck. Like, you got 2 hours, you got 2 hours.
Wow.
Get it
really
done.
Under the gun.
Go whatever.
learning
Like
how
no,
to-
like going over 15 minutes, like, or I'm under 15, like give me a credit. Like, no, you paid for 2 hours, you got 2 hours and you're out. That's Seattle. Like, right? So very assembly line, just cranking them out.
Very, very critical for him too to just say, hey, like I'm gonna pay for the time and get the knowledge. I'm gonna get it from you.
Well, that was
Jimmy.
here, and then he moved over there, and then he got paid, and he had real world knowledge.
But it was that mindset too that you can just say.
Sherm's great. Came
Damn.
back, and I was like, all right, here's the deal. I'm a rock guy, metal guy, ska, funk, reggae, bands, like full drum kits, like the whole, like when the whole band gets together, you know what I mean? I got the studio set up, so we got the drum kit, 20 mics on that. I got the guitar amps cranked up in the booths. I got the singer over there, and we'll go through the song, and we'll do all the overdubs.
Sick.
A lot of heavy music, a lot of metal, a lot of whatever. That's kind of my niche. And he's like, the hip hop kids, they want to come here, but you're always booked out like 4 months. It's not conducive for a hip hop calendar, you know, like a business. Like most hip hop studios, call them up, I'll get you in today, or like tomorrow, or whatever. Like,
Or at least next week.
yeah, you need 2 hours next week. With me, it's like 4 months from now, and they're like, I'm out. I can't. You know, like, I'm trying to put shit out like next week. You know? So just by that, it doesn't work. In the past at Garland, I did a lot of hip hop because I was taking everything I could.
Yeah.
Working like 3 and 4 bands a day, hip hop at night. Like, but now it's like I'm trying not to do those hours.
I was just gonna say, so that's what it is right now. So if somebody wanted to book time with you, it's gonna be a little bit of a wait in general.
every band for the last 8 years has been 4 months out.
Damn.
But you got to think like
That's awesome.
it's a different. Jinx was a different thing because I had taken a week off for Christmas, and I love Jinx, and I go way back, and he's like, "Yo, I need this spot," and I said, "For you, I got a couple hours."
That's awesome, man.
But like,
shout out to Jinx.
yeah, I love Jinx, and he's a good rapper. Like he's one of out of all the rappers in town. He's old school, man. He's got bars, like he's not mumble rapping through some
No,
auto-tune.
and his latest record too. Just to give a selfish shout out to Jinx right here, selfless I should say, is that latest record that he had coming out was really
yeah,
really
it's
great.
art.
It's really honestly some of the best.
I'm old though, dude. So like, I appreciate that style, that craft. Like when him and I joke about it, I'm like, dude, these kids. He's like, I know. Like you're like, I listen to you, and like I'm like, respect. Like you got something to say. Like it's craftable. It's not just like I get these guys, dude. They used to hit me up. They come in and they got a cool tone of their voice, and they have nothing written, and they want to put on the tune, and like we're gonna like scrub through a couple lines that don't mean anything, but they kind of sound
rappers
cool.
a bad name out here too. That's
well,
what it is.
I mean,
it's like,
I don't
then
even
you
know.
think that's what it is.
It's just a different. It's just a different art form that's kind of like. In a way, it's like jazz. Like it's kind of like we're just gonna see what happens, which I kind of have to respect too. Like if it sounds good, it is good, and if it just came to the top of your head through some auto-tune and it sounds cool, like I gotta respect it. But me being the type of person in my bit, like my work life that you guys have kind of got a feel for me, like how much I put into stuff. Like I appreciate the Jinxes that like think about things and like write things and like play with word styles and like the English language and like the beat and the like it's like a Picasso.
No, it really is something
what
that's
I mean?
put together that is intentional.
I don't want to take away from these other guys, but like
It's different. That's what it
I
is.
just
Yeah.
appreciate that style. Like if you really want to get into like the type of metal that I like, I don't like the simple like chug chug da 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 simple stuff. Like I like stuff where there's like almost no vocal and it's like Animals as Leaders, where it's like the guitars are like they're just like so.
What is
like,
this? Animals as Leaders?
Oh yeah, Animals as Leader, Periphery, like all these bands, Polyphia, like anybody who's got.
I'm just thinking of shit I got to bump on the way home.
We call it musicians metal because like if you listen to it, like you can hear that the guitar player has probably played his guitar for like his whole life. It's just like it's like Mozart but metal. It's like I appreciate that stuff. I think it's I know what it takes to play it. I know what it takes for Jinx to write that. He's not just writing down some shit.
No.
Or he's not just going in the studio and like, give me the auto-tune, I'm gonna fucking freestyle some shit.
No. There's a lot of intentionality.
So I gravitate towards that stuff. But like going back to with the schedule, the studio when I deal with bands is like I have to mic up a drum kit, which takes and set up all the tones for a record. It takes a half a day to a day. Damn. And then we do like all of the engineering, all of the
to a day to mic up.
Phase, bro. Like I have to check 20 mics to make sure they're all in.
Holy
and tune all the
shit.
drums. Like, can you imagine having a drummer come in with a drum kit that has duct tape on the heads that are 20 years old and they're all not tuned? Dude, a drum kit sounds like ass.
I can't even imagine. Like, I didn't even know that you put 20 mics on a drum kit.
Okay, so kick in, kick out. So you got the attack of the beater, and then you got the boom from the outside. Sub kick for the 60 hertz. So that's 3 mics on the kick. Top snare for the thump.
Okay.
Bottom snare for the sizzle. Psh. Side snare for the thump of the snare. So that's the wood. So that's 6 mics just on the kick and snare.
Damn.
Then you go tom 1, tom 2, tom 3. And if you're a real crazy band, tom 4 or 5. So let's just stick with your typical rock. So we got 3, 3, 9 total on just the direct mics on the kick, snare, and toms. That's 9. Overheads left, right.
Yep.
If they got a crazy crash cymbal or something, we got 1 in the middle. So we got 9, 10, 12 mics. Hi-hat, 13. Ride, 14. China, 15. Then we've got a close room set, 15, 17, stereo pair.
Jesus.
Far room mics to capture the ambience of the room, 18, 19, and a mono room mic, 20. Easy, just on the drums. All have to be sounding good together, phase aligned. All the drums have to be tuned.
And where the fuck do you learn all this?
20 years experience, bro.
This was just crash course.
Let me show you. Oh, my phone is turned off. Because I was trying to be good. I'll show you a picture of a drum kit that I recently did that was probably not all drums take me all day. That's the worst case. Like that's everything. Like that. Then we go over to all these guitar amps, and I've got like 5 or 6 different heads, 5 or 6 different speakers. We put a mic on each speaker of each one of those cabs, find the best tone, and then we find the best speaker in the cab because not all speakers are the same. Then we find the best microphone that works for that. So we find the best speaker in the best cab, and then we find the best microphone. That can take a minute. Different heads, different combinations, different guitars.
Fuck, this sounds
It's
crazy.
very, very in-depth to engineer these
I'm gonna have you
records.
send me this picture too. Whatever you're about to send me, I want you to send it to me because I wanna
All right.
make sure we
Check
can put it on
out-
the podcast so everybody can see it.
Check out this drum kit right there that I had to mic up. There's a mic on every single one of those.
Okay, let me see this real quick. Yeah. Oh my god.
And then there's room mics in the back of the room too. That's the biggest drum kit I've ever recorded. They're called Chase the Sun, and they're probably prideful that was like 24 mics just to get that thing.
They're prideful about that. That is awesome.
But
man.
like they play them all. Like, but yeah, there's
that is insane.
yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, please send that to me. I need to. Yeah, just send it to me on IG or I can give my number. But
So-
after this, but I want to
so-
make sure we get that picture.
So
That
when
is
you
insane.
when you set up a rock band like that, you have to engineer, and even that sounds pretty basic, bitch. Like then you have to like EQ on the way in a little bit, like get things like not because there's a lot of mud in that. Like regular drums before they get processed sound like shit. You got to cut out the mids, you got to boost the top, you got to boost the bottom in the right spots. You got to phase flip. You got to do all this stuff. Miking a drum kit in the metal genre is the hardest thing to engineer, bar none. Anybody who's done this will know that that is the most difficult thing to engineer. The easiest thing to engineer is vocals. The
okay, and then all the instruments.
bass is
come.
pretty easy. I mean, that can get in depth with different bass tones. Guitars, probably the second hardest because there's so many options of downtune stuff.
Yeah, different ways.
Different speakers, different amps, different cabs, different guitars, different players, like what's going to
Holy
work.
shit.
So it takes a long time to make a rock record. Like usually we'll spend 2 to 2.5 days on one song, like just getting it all engineered, all the vocals, all the layers. Then you got to edit, then you got to mix and master it. It takes a long time. Hip hop takes me about 4 hours to do one song
Okay.
because
so-
all the sounds are already done most of the time. I
Yeah.
might get a guy that's like, hey, here's my beats, my stems or whatever. And I'll listen to like the kick and I'm like, okay, that kick's like out of phase or whatever. Or the 808's like whatever. So we can like swap those out for like, I have a whole library of 808s and kicks and I might enhance it and make it better. Like,
Fuck.
because the low end is better, right? Like you want to make your low end good in hip hop. So I'll get like subpar kicks and 808s in hip hop. And I'm like, that's the most extent to what I have to do to fix somebody's instrumental because the instrumental is already done. And most of those sounds are already processed and they're already cleaned up. With raw instruments and drums and stuff like that, everything sounds like shit.
So you have to go through.
You got to make it
everything.
all sound crazy. I could show you the difference of a raw drum kit with like decent mics in a decent room. And you'd be like, okay, that sounds pretty good. And then I would do my processing on it and you would be like, holy shit, that sounds crazy different and huge.
Wow.
Because that's how much processing
And that's a
can
half
enhance
a
it.
day to a day.
Just getting tones and setup and then headphone mixes. Everyone's playing together. So imagine having a drummer, a bass player, 2 guitar players, a vocalist, and a keyboard that all have to like get into a headphone system and like dial everything where it sounds good so they can play the song live together.
Damn, dude. And then you have to get it record ready, like in the pre.
And the bass player always wants his
second.
bass louder, and the guitar player always wants to hear himself more, and the drummer always wants to hear his kick drum more, and the singer always wants to hear his voice more. So you have to like perfect a headphone balance.
Oh my god.
It's all about EQ, compression. I have headphone systems where everybody can turn themselves to different levels I've had to install. It's not easy to do. It's super hard to engineer, but it's super challenging, super fun. Everything I buy is like a piece to like make that process easier. Oh, here's a snare mic that I don't have to EQ as much and it rejects the hi-hat bleed because unlike electronic instruments, like stuff that I do in the hip hop stuff,
Yeah.
when I turn up the snare, I don't have any bleed. But when I turn up the snare in this, I got a hi-hat right next to going, So if I EQ it brighter, I get a bunch of hi-hat out of phase bleed that sounds like shit. So I'm trying to always find ways to like put foam pieces between the hi-hat and the snare mic to keep that down because it's all one thing.
What would you say, like, as far like what's the difference between like rock and metal?
So rock usually is going to be like less kick drum. Like it's going to be kind of more of like a AC/DC. Like think about like a groove that's kind of more like kind of makes your head go like this.
Yeah.
And metal might be like kick going like very fast.
I see. Okay.
A lot like in rock, you're gonna have a lot more room tone usually. Although a lot of metal that's coming out lately is making the room mics bigger. Like, but typically rock's gonna be like slower, like less kick drum, kind of more groove. Although metal can have groove, but think of like AC/DC. Think of like everything on 94.5 basically.
Yeah.
But then like metal, those stuff that I record is like 160 BPM, very fast kick drums that are just like very machine gunny, lots of high end drop tunes. Like we're down in like A, B, like real low on the octaves, just like super low. So it's a very hard genre to record because you have super drop tunings with a lot of low end that you have to control, but things are going twice as fast as every other genre.
Wow.
So you're trying to control low end all the time because speakers don't want to move that. Subs don't want to move that fast. So to make it tight and punchy, you got to really know about how to like compress the low end and how to like use the right instruments, string gauges to keep things from going out. Because guitars go out of tune super easy when they're drop tuned because there's so much movement.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound good. You don't want a bunch of guitars out of tune. So you got to buy like Evertune bridges. You got to go thick strings that barely move. So you're playing like piano wires to like get these tones. It's the whole deal, dude.
Whoa.
It's a whole thing.
What's your most memorable like experience recording a metal band? Like, or just, I guess could just be recording in general, but I know in your lane and what you love.
There's a couple that stand out. Recently, I got to work with the drummer of Lacuna Coil. He's actually a local guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was working with my buddy BJ doing drums, and he is a ridiculous. Like the drum recording on that was amazing.
Really?
He's ridiculous. This is the guy that flies to France like all the time to go on tour with the biggest metal band like in the world.
Wow.
And he lives here.
And
He's from Spokane.
Yeah.
And he's a drummer?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could show you a video of him playing that's
yeah, please, I'd love to see that.
ridiculous. Back in the day, there was a band called Remember Forever. Nick Tanzi, amazing guitar player. He learned from Kicho, like big guitar player around here. But he was like 16 years old, and he was doing the craziest shit. And I remember I made the mistake of charging them by the song. It was like $200 a song, like as long as it takes. And he spent 3 weeks on guitars.
Jesus.
But it was amazing. Like he's like really good. So he had a glass full of picks, and they're all different thicknesses, like thick, thin, super thin, big, small. And he would literally go through each riff and try each pick and figure out which one sounded the best.
Oh my God.
And it made a difference. Like
Tedious process, but
certain picks sound better than others.
had a great sound.
And that's how deep it can go.
Wow.
Pick thickness
Jeez.
will make a difference.
And that's where it starts.
This is where metal kids go insane. Like the records you hear, like how do they do this? Like a lot of time and
that's honestly just amazing to hear because that's the stuff. There's a lot of complexities from the recording, the band, but then hearing it from the engineer aspect and the complexities that go into that.
You're making everything from scratch.
And then thinking about this record, when you hear this one song, the amount that we as the listener should be invested in this piece that took so much to get right to that sound on both ends of it, playing it, receiving it, just prepping for it.
Yeah, and it all has to be perfect. Like,
that's insane.
You can't have like a
honestly.
bad bass tone on a metal record because if the bass tone's bad, it'll make the guitar tone sound bad because they work together.
So if it's like on a rock record, it could be more wiggle room, or
yeah, I feel like rock is like kind of dirty. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of someone today's that would be like a rock band. I don't know, maybe like a Nickelback or something. Like it can be kind of like, like it can be a little loose, a little like southern, a little.
Yeah.
Even though Nickelback records actually sound pretty good, but that's not a good example. Like there's like Native Sons or something like that. Like there's a bunch of bands out there that are.
There's a little bit more room for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't even know if I said that band right. I don't know. I listen to some rock, but
you listened to a lot of rock when you were younger, right?
I grew up in this town, so of course. But
as
soon as I heard like thrash music,
I was gonna say, what are your favorite metal bands?
Oh, like right now,
just what you love, like your all-time loves. Right now, I love too, but
I love Periphery.
Never heard of them, so I want to listen.
Oh, so good. Like the guy's range is crazy and just super melodic. I love Bring Me the Horizon's a great one. I almost got a chance to go see them live, but he had vocal nodes when he toured. So the band that I was just in was very like industrial rock metal like that. It's a super big influence. They're just really good.
What do you play?
Guitar is my main instrument. Vocals, obviously, in the first band I was in, I fronted, and then background vocals. And I write a lot of harmonies. Like when bands come in and you have like the lead vocal, right?
Yeah.
Boring. Like lead vocal's great.
Yeah.
But like in hip hop, I guess you'd call them ad libs.
Yeah.
But in rock, it's like how to harmonize all the vocals in the choruses.
Bring that whole
so if they're then you want to be like on top, and then like maybe the on top, and you blend them all together, and you got to figure out what those melodies are.
I love that.
And have the singer sing them or
get
them there. So I was doing a lot of that with my band, like figuring out those layers.
Wow.
That's actually a skill that I kind of picked up at the Falls through Danny McCollum in the piano department, because they teach intervals.
He's the piano teacher?
Yeah. I don't know if he still is, but he was back then.
Wow.
He made me learn how to play like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star with like harmonies and inversions, and I'm like, but you learn
My son would love that.
You learn harmonies, like how the keyboard works and like what the thirds are, the fourths, the fifths, the sixths,
Yeah.
what works in theory.
No, but it's cool that you're writing these harmonics that are bringing in a new, because when people are coming in, they're not expecting that, or is that something that you're doing extra? Or?
People that have worked with me before expect it. People that haven't worked with me before, depends on what studios they've been in the past. Like if you're at the level to where we're working, and you've been at another studio at that level, like it would probably be weird that I didn't.
Yeah, okay.
But if you're like some band in a garage that's like just coming into the studio for the first time, it's really intimidating for a lot of people, because they're like, I didn't prepare for any of this. Like I just do my thing. And I'm like, yeah, but like your thing is why you're coming to me. Like you want to make it this thing. Like people come to me to get this sound. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you to layer up your voice and do harmonies and stuff, and like make the choruses pop.
Wow.
Because you've got a song that has to be served, right? You've got an intro, you've got a verse, you've got a chorus, and then you've got like a second verse, and then you've got like another chorus, and then like a bridge, and then like a final chorus. Well, if the song is the same every time, it's boring. But like if we add another harmony layer on the second chorus, and then like a tri harmony with extra ad libs on the last chorus, then it's the biggest thing. That's going to keep the momentum growing.
Yes.
So unless you figured that out in your garage, then you needed someone to like show you that. And I've got a lot of experience in taking people's songs they've written in their garages and making them radio ready, so that's what we're going to do.
That's huge.
We're going to do what you've done, enhance that, and then we're going to figure out a way to like throw these layers on there and harmonies and extra things, So that's kind of what I do. Sometimes I'll get people, they come in and it's like the first verse is like 2 minutes long. It's like, okay, like I probably would have turned that off after 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, but it's really boring at this point. Like, don't bore us. Get to the chorus. Like, let's go. Like, let's cut that out. Let's rearrange some stuff around.
No, I was reading.
Are you receptive to this? And they're like, yeah, I guess so. And it's like, trust me, like, it'll be okay.
Just hear me out, kind of a thing. Because I was reading. I was like reading in just the description of in learning even a little bit about that pre-production and the tracking and some of these things that you do that gives a little bit more of the structure to a song and gives like a little bit more creativity into where you can change things. And like you were saying, just like, oh, you know, the verse kind of strings along a little bit here before the hook comes in. Have we thought about doing this or creating this? Or, you know, I just think that that's something that, especially with hip hop, a lot of people don't get.
Well, the problem I have with like, it's a little different because again, the instrumental's already built, so you don't really have to worry about arrangement, right? Because the beat's already there. I mean,
Yeah,
you can mess with it obviously, but
Yeah.
like generally speaking, if you have a person who's good at making beats, they kind of know how to build dynamics. The problem I have with like Spokane people is like they don't know how to read the beat. So when they write vocals to it, they're like writing the hook on the like lowest energy part of the song or something.
Yeah, and writing the verse on the hook, and then the hook's coming in on the verse, and you're like, what are you doing?
You're like, you wrote the hook in the middle of the verse.
Yeah, or like you wrote like this is the one I get a lot too. It's like most of these guys are pretty structured in their beats. Like they're like 8, 12, or 16 bars in pieces, right? So if there's like a 8-bar hook, they'll write a 12-bar hook. So it's like they're still going
into that next
into
verse.
the verse and then like doing like a 6-bar verse.
No, that fucks you up big time. Yeah, for sure. And
Like-
then it is
like-
a lot easier when
And
you're
they're just like,
a
no,
hip-hop
but
artist.
those are the ones that will not change for sure. I can already tell. They're like, no, this is
It's
how
hard.
I fucking wrote it.
It's hard, but like what I'll do is I'm like, all right, check this out. I said, you see how this song, like the instrumental, like gets big right here? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'll take the part that's like low energy that just has like a kick and like a hat and like an 808 or maybe no bass and just like a little thing.
That's them bars
And
right
I'll
there.
just flip it and I'll start from the top and I'll play it back and they don't even like really know what I did. Like, how's that feel? Like, that feels so much better. I'm like, yeah, because now the verse is like in the low energy part, and then when you hit it up, like all the
That hook
hats
comes
come in, and
in.
it's like big,
Yeah.
and it just like that's the way I would have built the song.
But that's a cool way to put it in perspective for the artist, because a lot of times the artist doesn't realize. They don't realize they're just the art. We're just creating art, you know. So then when
Yeah,
you can show
I
them a
get it.
different way, that's awesome.
And it's one way. I mean, it's not. I mean, I've
but
heard.
it's a way to show.
I know that there's a plenty of rappers out there that do that, where they reverse the hook, where the hook is like the quietest thing, and then like I think I get that, but it's at least good to be able to have the skill set to listen to both ways and then make a judgment.
Yeah,
You know,
and to
say-
be able to put somebody on, because there's a lot of people that, not that you work with now, but I'm sure that you worked with before, were coming in a little unexperienced. Or
I still
people-
take people who've never been into the studio before.
Really.
If you're cool, I'll take you. And like I've had people, like I just took this new guy, Colin. God, I have to remember his stage name. I'll think of it.
Is he a rapper? Or?
Yeah, he's a rapper, and he's like a farmer, and he was very patient with me. He's like, oh, 4 months. And he's like, I'll wait. I was like, okay. And he was super cool. He's like, yeah, I got harvest. And I was like, oh, what farm? He's like, oh, I do this. And it's like, so we started a conversation, and then, oh, he goes by Pax. And he came in, and he'd never been in before, and we did the whole thing. We tried a couple mics on him. I showed him some different tricks about mic placement, like different rooms. Like, you don't want to be in this room. It's too close to the walls. Like, you want to be a little open and get some stuff around you. Like, let's start with like making your voice like just really sound good. Okay, cool. And then we did some of that where we switched some of the beat around. It's like, oh my gosh, that sounds so much better. We did the arrangement thing. I took the beat and I like chopped it up and moved the busiest section to the back. Same thing he had written, just moved the beat around.
Yeah.
So his vocals were still the same.
Was he making his own beat?
No, I think he bought it, but
And
like
he had stems
he had
and all
wrote like his vocals a certain way, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it was backwards from like the way the beat grew. So I just moved the beat around because it's all to click, you know. You just
Of course,
chop it
but
around.
that was an easy way for you to.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh my god, I can't go anywhere else."
Yeah.
He's like, "I've been to like these other places, and no one has ever told me this, or like we've never spent time like getting the right vocal mic for me, or trying to figure out like
Just any of the
just
minute
whatever
details.
the details that like made it so that when he hears it back, it sounds like that sound that everybody want like
Yeah.
that halo around the vocal that like you're like, oh, that sounds really professional. I don't know
That's
why.
what we want.
That's what you want. You want that thing that sounds like, oh, it's coming off the radio or whatever.
That's right.
So, but it's not just engineering. It's like having him do good takes. It's, all the things we do like in the metal world, like the detail of like, yo, bro, like you're out of breath right here. Like we have to break these up a little bit so that, or take your breath in different places. Like we have to figure out why it's like waning. Like you can see the waveform. Like we want it to sound like this the whole time. Have you ever seen the movie with like, Straight Outta Compton where they're like punching Eazy-E like lime? There's a reason why they did that because like they didn't want him to sound like out of breath here.
Yeah.
Like, so that kind of stuff. So when we got done, I was like, spend more time on less songs. That's the other thing that people mistake. They want to come in the studio and do 4 songs in 4 hours. I'm like, do 1 song.
Yeah.
Do 1 song in a day. Like, make this the best thing ever. And know who you're working with. Like, try different mics out. Like, if you got a microphone that sounds really good on your main vocal, like, switch up a completely different mic up for your ad libs so that the color is so different that they automatically like mix themselves into the back of the track.
Oh
wow.
God, that's genius.
That really is.
Like,
who else would tell you, hold on a second, let me put a different mic in there.
Yeah, just so that the backgrounds don't sound anything like the foreground, because that's what we want. We don't want them, like they can't all be on the stage with the limelight. Like that's the lead vocal, that's the message giver. Everything else is like background. So we can like filter them down, but they're just like filtered down versions of the same thing. Like let's change it up completely. Let's go with a condenser on the main and like an SM7 dynamic on the backgrounds. That's really different.
Okay.
Cool. All right. I'm in. So Pax was like, he's one of those guys that like, I'd never worked with him before and he was cool. I get people, dude, they hit me up and it's through a DM or it's like email and it's like, yo, you record today? ? I'm like, I do, but not with you.
Yeah, no.
Because
No,
I can
seriously.
see where this is going.
Yeah, it's all about the approach.
But like, hey, Jimmy, saw you on whatever, heard Django's record. Love it. I'm a rapper. Here's my name, my pseudonym. I would love to get
Django
him.
had to bring a lot of rappers to you. Legacy.
Django was pretty brand new when I worked with him. He's been a lot of different places since then. But when he first came in, it was like years ago.
Oh yeah. We all remember that record. That record was great.
I love that record.
Yeah,
it was raw. It was raw. It was like,
dude, that was the record that we would just go see fucking 8 Django shows and just watch Legacy over and over and over again. It was just amazing.
It was a good time.
Yeah, it was
I
an
love
amazing
that.
time. It was
and he's doing his thing now. He's grown and he's got different producers and stuff that he's working with, and it's that thing. Like I worked with him when I didn't know who he was and he was kind of just starting out, and I've worked with Pax and these guys when they're starting out.
Cool.
But
it's cool that you just.
But he was professional. Django was professional. Everybody is like, I don't know. It's a thing with mine because you guys have to realize I get like 20 emails a week through my website and all these people, and it's like I can't do 20 bands a week.
Yeah.
Or 20 rappers or what. Like there's not physically enough time or mental space. Like I get burnt out, my ears would die. So I can only pick so many, and already if there's 15 people that are like, yo, what's up? You record? I'm like, yeah, I do.
They're easy to weed out. It's just
Easy.
like, look, okay,
like,
come
do you
on.
even know what you're doing to yourself?
No, are you taking this seriously?
You're not.
And if you're not, then I can't.
And I have to because like I can only pick so many. So who's the most serious? I want I want the most professional and the best artist. That's not always gonna happen. Sometimes I've put up with a lot of shit to get good art.
Oh, I bet.
And that's fine too, but like they have to be really good.
Yeah.
You have to be a really good artist to be a douche.
No, I bet. No, I bet.
But most of the time everybody's pretty cool.
Give me like a minute, okay? You guys gonna want to keep talking?
You're gonna go.
I got a piece.
Oh God.
I'm gonna die.
We can keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. The Boulevard. I did a lot of shows at the Boulevard.
You did?
Yeah.
What did you do there?
I rapped.
What was the name or the group?
You're gonna remember it.
What was it?
It was called Tomfoolery.
Okay.
Do you remember way back in the day?
Yeah.
JD Davey.
Yep.
Walter Davey. He did the sound. He was our DJ.
Okay.
And I just put it all together during this podcast. I was like, he's gonna know JD
With the
from
flames
back-
on the side of the
yeah,
thing. With
yeah.
the,
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I was there.
you don't want to get into those bitches. They'll cut you.
Yeah. No, but it was just funny because like he had the studio in Brown's Edition for the longest time, which was Big City Sound recording studio. And it was just the same type of thing, but it was just so funny what you said when you said that I wouldn't come here to get my hair cut. I wouldn't come here to get.
I didn't say that. The guy that told me that.
No, but
yeah.
when you said that he mentioned that, and it's just so true.
I might pull that line out in the future to some young.
Why? That was great. That was the highlight.
I'm old school. I am, man. People would probably think I'm like the biggest dick, but I am definitely like old school because I came from that era, man.
Are you buddies with Matt Goodwin?
Yeah.
Like, because when you talking about the
'Cause
Boulevard,
he's the
I was
dude
just
who
like,
owned it.
It was the Boulevard, and then I was just like, I had him in a podcast here the other day, and he's like, he's doing all this like real estate, like he's buying.
Maddie.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
know
Maddie.
I don't know if that's
Maddie.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's right,
Matt.
that's
Matt. Matthew. No, Maddie.
That's funny though. Like, and but then,
There was two. It was Maddie and it was oh god, my brain. I need alpha brain.
At, what's the second part? The second place he owned
the
They had
Boulevard.
the pizza place.
No, this is back in the day. You're saying.
But the guy who got busted for like they were basically, it was at the pub club. In the pub club, he had an investor at the pub club that or I don't know if he's an investor, but they were like washing money, like they were laundering money through the pub club.
Yeah.
But they were just like selling BC Bud, and I was just like, and this guy went to jail for like 7 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was doing some research on it. I was just like, that guy went to jail for 7 years for distributing weed.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
I
like-
remember Maddie's little. I remember the room in the basement
That's
in the
good.
Boulevard.
He goes
Remember
to
that?
Maddie.
Back in the
Well,
day.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I.
That's
So
funny. No, I don't know.
and
him
the other guy
personally.
owns he owns the barbecue place, Outlaw.
Oh, Outlaw. Oh.
So if you knew, so back then, if you go in the kitchen, they had a giant smoker, and they would cater during the day, like brisket, ribs
At the Boulevard.
at the Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
So they were doing like,
I was always wondering how they stayed open.
they had a ton of brisket, they had a ton of stuff. Like, so my deal was, I would do sound, I'd get $50 a night, and I might be there from 6 till like 3 in the morning. So, but whatever, it was fun. $50 a night, and I got anything off the menu and a shifter, which was a drink after you're done. So I would get a brisket sandwich that had been smoked 24 hours in the back of that place. And then I'd get like a fucking beer at the end, and we'd sit around, and there was a place downstairs that was like a green room. and
Yeah,
we'd party with the bands and shit. It got crazy.
I remember that room.
Yeah. So that whole time I was there for like a year, I was always eating brisket sandwiches. They had pulled pork. I mean, it was like the best barbecue in
It was
Spokane.
really good
Bro, I'm
food.
hungry
Really
as shit.
good
That
food.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
So it's not anything crazy to think that like the guy that was doing all the brisket and stuff like moved over to by the kind of by the military VA
Over
on
by,
Driscoll,
Yeah, that's that was
and the Outlaw Barbecue's in
yeah.
there. So that's the other owner.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Outlaw, he was that like
that was who was doing the food.
Maddie and Ray Ray. Ray Ray was the other guy
Ray.
that was my boss, and they were paying me to do sound, and like I was helping them with their system, and we were hanging out. Dude, I love those guys. I fucking love Ray Ray, and he started Outlaw, and he has 2 locations. He's killing it.
Yeah,
and,
what a
Maddie's
great-
got like the pizza place up in.
I've wanted to go get some Outlaw lately when I'm passing that spot up north.
You can buy the sauce and bring it home.
Really?
2 for $10.
No shit.
Yeah, you can get their like honey mustard kind of mustardy like wing sauce, or you can get like the barbecue sauce. I buy bottles of that shit.
Really?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
It's kind of me and my dad's thing. Like I'll stop by and get him some sauce, and he'll get me some because
If it's that good, I gotta try it.
they got specials. Like my dad just retired, so he's all about like the the specials everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
So he's always going.
He's retired, so he's about
Dude,
those
it's like when you
specials.
retire, you're on a limited income. You're
Yeah.
always figuring out where
You're
like
cutting
the
coupons,
where's
baby.
the 4 to 6 specials at. It's like Taco Tuesday at the Outlaw. He loves that place.
Hell, fucking yeah.
We always get the sauce, and you can bring the sauce home.
That's cool.
Tell me a little bit. Tell me a little bit about, engineering for Tech 9.
Not much to it. He was doing a show here, as he does a lot. I think his sister lives here. He loves Spokane. Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
He's a Spokane guy.
I didn't know that his sister lives here. I've always wondered why Tech 9.
Yeah. I always
that might be.
Spokane
I
so
think
much.
that might be misinformation, but I don't think it is. I think that's true. You can look it up. But he loves Spokane, and his team called me, asked if we had space. I said yeah. They asked if I had a C800 microphone. I said no, because that's like a 10. At the time it was 10 grand. Now they're like 20.
Jesus.
It's the big black Sony mic with the heat sink off the back.
Why? Like,
They're
why
just,
is it
they're
so
just expensive. They always have been. That's
Wow.
what all the big rappers had. That's what they used. I didn't have one. I had a clone.
I mean, is it that much of a difference?
It's pretty nice.
Really?
I have a clone. It sounds okay, but I could imagine. Like, I almost thought about buying a real one recently and putting it in there and then having like promoting it. Hey Spokane, come, because I've been on this.
Jesus.
We could talk about my new ventures, but I'm trying to like not do 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
Still engineering, editing, mixing, mastering every single project, and like renting out the studio to other producers, like
Yeah.
having to come in. And I thought maybe I get the C800, charge a little
That
bit of
would've-
money.
Okay.
People would be like, I can have a C800, I can have a $20,000 microphone and like a CL1B compressor and like a Neve preamp. That's like $30,000 chain for like,
Jesus.
$70 an hour or something. I thought that might be a thing, but they asked for that. I didn't have it. I have a clone. It sounds pretty good. He came in, total professional, nicest guy ever. Like 2 big security guards, like chains, just sitting there like chilling, and he's in there. Like Tech 9 is coming through my speakers. Like, hey Jimmy, I'm gonna
No, that's got to be a
like,
fucking trip.
fucking trip. I'm just like,
I bet.
That is probably crazy.
he's just coming through my speakers. Like I can see him, but
No.
like it's like it sounds like Tech 9. He's like, pussy the pavement, it's just like
Yeah.
fucking just go, like Tech 9. It sounds like Tech 9.
That's sick.
And he was doing something for Strange, so it was like a collab on another artist on his Strange
Oh,
music
okay.
album. So it wasn't like
You just
his
need to
record.
lay a verse down.
Yeah, like
and-
and like send it off to my engineer and they'll mix it and master it. Like it wasn't like I did like a whole fucking thing and like it made it to the Spotify like that way. Like he just
But you were still the engineer that they
yeah
were.
no
that,
it was
that-
it was like kind of
If I'm in Spokane,
it's kind of nerve wracking actually because I was like please don't like make sure the headphones work.
were you
and-
like were you expecting that type of an artist to hit you up? Or
I've had
guess
big
you-
artists hit me
Yeah,
up.
I was gonna say. So you had already been working.
I've had
with
Miles
big
Kennedy
artists.
in there. I've had Joe Bonamassa. I just had a big artist rent the studio called Apache that everyone knows like right now. He's on tour. He's like a big
Really?
yeah. He was just in for 3 days.
Wow.
I've had big artists in there.
So it wasn't a surprise to get like that call.
Well, even back in the day when I had Nikki and Richin, like they were big.
Mm-hmm.
They were the guys like get the fuck out of your house. Like I've had the pleasure of working with super professional people. I just when that happens, it's just a little bit more anxiety because like
okay, yeah, that makes
what
sense.
if like I have a big recording studio system, like it's not like a microphone into a DAW, like it's like patch bays that run from that room to this room into this patch bay into this microphone that normals all the way down. Like there's like 15 connections and sometimes shit doesn't work. Sometimes like cables just decide to pop off the little connector inside the thing.
Don't happen when I'm
Yeah,
here.
so it's like just make sure everything works. Like you got to be super prepared, and that's the thing I learned in the live sound days at the Boulevard is like just making sure that you're always on top of your gear to make sure all the solder joints are solid, making sure that everything runs, that everything that's mono is supposed to be mono, everything that's stereo is supposed to be stereo. Make sure all your headphone jacks are tight and working, like just that kind of stuff. Like there's too many things in the chain.
So
to go
it
bad.
brings in that
Yeah,
anxiety
you
that-
want to be like, hey, I'm good. Like
Because there is a lot that could go wrong.
There is a lot, and your equipment goes wrong. Like shit just pops off sometimes. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
not good.
in your control.
But you got to be like, Johnny on the spot, get it fixed. So everything went great. Yeah, he's a great guy. I still have the tracks on my hard drive, which is hilarious. But he sent them off. I'm sure it did something. He probably would have loved to have a C800. I probably should get one and call him up and tell him I got one finally, because I'm
Next
sure
time
that was
you're
like
here,
a
I got
little
one.
bit of a thing. He didn't quite have one because they're just used to that. That's like the levels thing I'm talking. He's
But
used
I
to
mean,
going.
is it really to a point where it's so noticeable?
It's pretty nice.
Dude didn't have a fucking,
It's pretty nice. Like, especially if he's used to
Can
using
you tell if a C800 is getting used just by?
That's what I'm wondering.
That's what I'm wondering too.
It's not so much if I can tell, it's if they can.
Could the audience tell?
If they can,
It's a
like-
pretty nice microphone.
You said you have a
Okay,
clone.
Yeah, it's the Slate Digital thing or whatever.
It doesn't look like when you say clone, I'm thinking it looks like what the mic
So
they
it's
want.
the Slate thing is like a microphone that's like, it looks like a black condenser microphone, but then it's engineered to be, I guess, like flat, because a lot of mics are engineered different ways. You know,
Yeah.
they're brighter, mid-rangey or whatever. This thing's pretty flat, and then you buy the software, and then on the back end you can flip through different studio mics that, like, whatever you want. You want a
Oh,
251,
so that's what
you
you
want
mean by
SM7B.
clone.
So this particular software thing is like a C800, and
I see.
since I've
Okay.
never had the opportunity to own a real one,
You really don't know.
I don't know.
I see.
Those are 20 grand. Fuck, I don't have 20
That's
grand.
fucking
So
crazy.
So I have this thing that like everyone else says is pretty close. Tech 9, since he records on a real one, that's a whole different thing. If the
I
artist is
see.
used to like singing or rapping through one and they know what it sounds like in their headphones, he would know.
Did he say something about it?
No, he was total
Yeah,
professional.
he's like, yo, look, we good.
He's like, I'm just gonna spit. Like, I'm gonna do Tech 9, like whatever.
oh, I love it.
So the thing about Tech 9 is cool is like he had a show that night, and
And this is before his show.
it's before show, so he's popping out like 2-3 hours in the studio, gets his verses done.
Sick.
We do some dubs, we do some ad libs. He's like, "Thanks, Jimmy. Boom, boom. Got to go to the show if you want."
He
tickets."
doesn't drink anymore or do drugs. But was this before that? Do you know? Do you remember that?
I did not see any drinking or drugs. I saw the most professional.
Yeah.
So when you see Tech 9 on stage, you see the face paint, the war paint. You
Yeah.
see like the attitude, all the shit.
Yeah.
He's got black shirt, super drip, gold chain, goatee, perfectly shaved head,
Sounds about right.
perfectly clean. Oh, thank you, Jimmy. Like Mr. Hill, like the
Professional.
nicest man. Like
I've heard
my
that.
God.
I've heard this across
Wow,
the board from
that is
anybody
so
who's ever
crazy.
worked with
the
Tech 9
most
or been around
humble.
Tech 9. That's awesome.
Both security guys, just fucking huge dudes, just sitting there dripped out too, just like
They're happy.
they're
like,
chilling.
Yeah, that's security.
Like we're just
Tech
here to protect our boy.
9. Yeah, we're good.
He's like, "Yo, do you mind if I, get ready for the show? Use your bathroom, whatever." I got this tiny little bathroom. It goes in there. I'm like, "No, not a problem, dude. I'll just kind of sauce this up a little bit before we send it to your guy to mix." And Tech 9 must have like a Tech 9 body spray or like cologne brand or something, because he douses himself in it for the show, so he smells really good.
Yeah.
Like, real good. Like dude, people like would
I
go
wanna-
in there for like weeks after.
Really?
Like a band would come like, "God, your bathroom smells amazing." Like, that's Tech 9.
What did he have?
I want to get this.
Just
now.
like the most insane like scents. Just
God, I want to smell that
Dude, we
shit.
gotta
like
get Tech 9 on the
like
podcast to talk
man
about his
smell,
scents.
bro. Like,
What does a man smell?
Bro.
like if you were
Like
going into
wood
like if
and
you were going
just-
into like a cigar bar like with some hot ladies
Yeah.
and you were like leather. It's like a combination of like leather and like musk.
Bro, that's
and
some
like,
Kansas City shit right
Yeah,
there. That's
bro,
what
like-
it is.
Fuck,
That's
like
some-
oil
like if I'm
scents.
going into like a pool hall with like pimps.
He's he sprayed the corners.
Amazing.
I need to know what's being worn here. I need to know. We got people coming in weeks later, like,
Like,
the
what is that
bathroom.
smell? Like the pheromones, like shit.
Oh, we gotta
That's
tag him in
awesome.
this. The pool hall with pimps. I swear
That's
to
awesome.
God,
He's the
I
most-
smelled it right there.
Most amazing individual, most humble, most professional, amazing rapper, and just like the most hygienically, like the sweet
He's
Tech 9 smell.
what the fuck?
oh,
God, that I did not expect that.
that's beautiful.
He's great.
Do you ever? What do I say? What am I saying? Okay. Do you ever get like? Do you ever get like imposter syndrome where you feel like you shouldn't be where you're at, or you feel like are you pretty like in your mind pretty sound as like present in where you are and saying like I deserve this? Or
No, I think my issue is like every few years, like music changes and there's a new class, right? Like I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 37 years old now.
okay, so I can kind of like anticipate like when you were like 22, right? You're rapping.
Yep.
Okay.
Barely.
You were coming out of college or high school, and everybody kind of knew who was who in the class of rappers, right?
Yeah.
Now you're 37. Like, who's the new class? Who's the next 18-year-old coming up? Like, I have
That's
no
hard.
idea.
Yeah, that's hard. No, that's
But
tough.
but my thing is like, I have to figure out a way to connect to that kid to get him in, because I have the people that I work with, but if I just only record those people, then it's just going to be me and a bunch of 42-year-olds recording until I close the studio someday.
Yeah.
So my fear or my imposter syndrome or whatever, the thing that like keeps me up is like, I don't know who the next kid is, and I don't even know if I'm reaching them. Like, do they even like, do they know about the studio? Am I on Instagram enough? I just got on TikTok 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like maybe I missed like a whole group of people.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing is like I feel like I'm not doing enough all the time, but dude, I got 2 daughters.
So
I got
that's
a
what
wife.
it is.
I live like back in the day, man. I was really, really good about being at every show, all the rock shows. Like I was working there.
Yeah.
that was easy. That was like I did your sound. You like that?
You like that?
That's the best sound we've ever had. Like, you like that? You should come to my studio. That's an easy pitch.
Yeah.
That's actually a tip. If you want to get into what I do, go work a club and get good at your sound there. You got 3 to 4 artists a night to go up and impress.
Yeah. Okay.
That's an easy segue back to your studio. Easy. Fish in a barrel. If you do better than any of the other live sound, if you just give that much more of a shit, that you don't walk away from the board while they're doing their thing and you're drinking at the bar. Like if you're actively like trying to get better at your craft and they walk away going, dude, usually when we do clubs here or do shows in town, like the monitors suck, like can't hear shit, whatever. But if you're like, it's amazing when you do it, that's an easy sell. Like,
because
that
was 90% of the people are doing a terrible job.
90%.
Yeah.
They don't give
it's
a fuck.
bad. No, the
Nobody
amount of
wants to
shows
be there.
that we've done, we're like, yo, hey, sound. Oh, he's not there anymore. He's gone. Okay.
Now imagine if that guy was like, hey man, I'm Jimmy.
Oh my God.
Whatever you need tonight, I got you.
I would be blown. Like, yeah, you're immediately.
And I'm there and like, we're going to do a sound check. We're going to give you your own. We're going to give you your own. And we're going to give you, and we're going to get it done. Oh, hey, monitors. I'm like, oh, got you. Here's the signs you need to tell me. So I can, because I can't hear you, I can see you. And we go through that.
I'm already blown away. Signs? I've never done a show with somebody who
You're like,
has
you're
signs.
like, you're like, if you want vocals up in a certain monitor, you go vocals, point to the monitor and up or down. Okay, got you. Done. If you got in-ears, tap your ear, then do it. Okay, cool. Now at the end of the show, everything, dude, that was the best sound we've ever had. Thank you so much. Like, cool. What are you guys doing? We've been like we're thinking about doing a record soon. Oh, that's crazy, dude. I just started a studio. Like, if you like the sound tonight, like maybe we could work together on a record.
Just put yourself out
Yeah,
there.
that's how I
shoot
started.
your shot.
That's how I started.
Wow.
How much of like being a part of like that scene helped with growing Amplified
Everything.
Wax? Because like I just feel like that scene
This doesn't happen without that.
yeah, because like Spokane scene is like that's all. I mean, rock was just like it's like it's what you relate to Spokane.
That's
right?
what's when you think about Spokane. Yeah.
So my issue now is like I built my shit up. I built the brand up. I've done all that. I went to all those shows. I've worked all those shows. Now I have all these friends that have recorded with me, and I've had like 20 years of people working with me. Okay, now there's a new batch who has no idea who I am. They probably think I'm something that I'm not because people say things that aren't true. And there's like, oh, he's like this and he charges this and oh, that and this. But they don't know the whole story. So like I'm not going to shows like doing sound and like I try. But dude, it's so hard when you have girls in softball and you got things, it's like life gets in the way a little bit. Like I can't be out till 3 a.m. all the time.
That's why we get you on a podcast. So
I
that
love
way you
this.
can say your whole story, and the people that listen to this podcast, that, you know, because this podcast is built for people, especially originally, this is built for people who come to Spokane who don't know where to find cool shit.
I'm one of the guys. There's also, I've been trying to prop up like a lot of other dudes. Like TS is one of those guys where he came in off the program and interned with me for like whatever the internship is.
Really?
It's like a few hours here and there. We had a good time, and he's gone. He's in the hip hop world doing the get out of the house thing and do that. And it's like, because I know what it takes to do that. Anytime he's doing stuff, I'm trying to share.
I love it,
bro.
I'm so glad you brought him up because he's one of my favorite people.
And
out
Moses,
here.
I love Moses is not doing the same thing, but he's good at what he does, and he fills a huge need for rappers in Spokane. And he's always super nice. Like him and I have been friends for like a long time, just because he's cool. I've had other people that take shots, and I'm like, well, fuck you.
I mean,
sorry.
Come on, that's never going to get you anywhere, you know.
Well, it's not like I like
get
helping
you anywhere,
people that are
guys.
cool. And if
Just be cool.
And if I
guys.
get, if I get 20 people a week emailing me and I can't get to all of them, I'm sending these people to other people.
Yeah, the ones that are standing out are the ones that are cool.
Ask Moses and TS how many people I've sent their way. Just because I don't have like enough space in my calendar. I'm like, and they don't know who to go to. I'm like, try TS. If that doesn't work, try Moses or try T.
And
like,
the gem out of that is the fact that, you know, when you're good to people and you're a good person, you're staying authentically true to yourself, things will come back.
just yeah.
Okay, you don't have to be afraid that Jimmy's going to take all your fucking people, right? Like you can
No,
be
I
like,
got enough. I'm good.
Like you can be like, yo, I respect other people in this space.
Well, and the lanes are totally different too. Like,
And then they come back.
I do everything, but like primarily because of the calendar and like the setup of the studio. Like, hip hop guys don't need a big drum room with all the different booths to record a band live. Like, it's cool when I get hip hop bands that have a live band. I'd be totally down.
Yeah.
But like that's mainly what I do. It's like what really gets me off. Like I love that thing. I've done a ton of hip hop. I like it. I love the
I want to
genre.
come do a record with you.
Do a record with
I
me.
want to do a
It'll be-
record with you
it'll be
really
fun.
bad. Honestly, I'm like, dude, I'm so stoked.
But
Honestly.
it's just a little different the way the setup is and the calendar is. Like, so when I have
It's
people
the
that are like
brain
trying to
that
get
I
in,
want that like ear on my
Yeah.
them ears
Well,
on my sound.
we
that I
would
want.
have a good time, and you would
God,
you would
we'd have so
learn,
much
and
fun.
I would get a great artist, and we would vibe. But the point is, like, these other guys that's like their main like clientele in their genre, and they can get the needs of those customers met. Like, I have no problem referring that business out to people that I know are going to do a good job and take care of people, because that also reflects on me. If somebody
'cause you're
calls
putting
me,
people to a
it's my name on it. If I say, but here's who I recommend.
And if they fuck them up, then they're like,
They're like,
Jimmy, what the
fuck did you do?
bro?
Right?
Come
Yeah, no, I don't
on.
want that. It's
This
like a
guy
job
was
referral.
dick.
No, so
Yeah.
those guys are the ones that I see that are like engineering, and they're professional, and they're getting things completed. Like, a lot of people just don't complete anything.
No, Moses is a legend because Moses has been recording here for so long, and TS is, one of my favorite people here, just taking risks and doing a lot of these similar things that I really see that you did in this story, and he also is very willing to share.
Yeah.
His story, and to say, hey, this is what fucking didn't work for me. Hey, this is what worked great.
It's not easy for any of us. And I'll tell you what, with the different genres, like bands, there's usually 5 or 6 people that are all splitting the fees. Like, think of it, you have 5 members in the band, each come up with $100 to cover the
It's
session.
a little bit easier, yeah.
With the hip hop, it's like one person.
It's me.
And it's quick, and it's a way tougher business model for commercial, because it just is like.
But I want you to tell me right now a little bit of the value that you're going to give a hip hop artist, because I will be honest with you, the majority of the people who listen to our podcast that do make music make hip hop music, and I just want to know like the value that somebody could get coming to your studio versus just going anywhere else in a hip hop vein, as far as pre-production,
Ooh, that's a lot of stuff. I think
just experience. That's I feel like that's really the thing, because anybody can record a record. You could get one of these mics that's right in front of us right now and record some stuff and send it off to somebody, be mix and mastering, or you could use one of these AIs and you could have a song ready. You put it on Spotify. You know, what's different in the experience. I wrote a song, now I'm coming to Jimmy, and this might become something a little bit more than what I initially.
the biggest thing is you're going to leave with something that's got more input into it than what you thought when you brought it in, right?
Huge.
Because it's not just engineering. Like if I split this into two things, you're going to get all the knowledge that I have floating around in here for the last 20 years, working with every kind of genre, mostly bands, but also hip hop. You're going to get like somebody who's going to add that thing where it's like, oh, I didn't think about adding that, or I didn't think about changing that beat around like that, or oh, I didn't hear that the kick wasn't really slapping, but like when you play your new kick on that, because you can hear that it needs that extra thing, and I'll talk about that in a second, the hearing of the thing. So you're gonna walk out with something that's like when I work with young Neves, or I think it's just Neves now.
Yeah, Neves. Yeah.
He could tell you that. He's like, man, when I go in, like I came in with this, but like I left and Jimmy had put guitar and shit on it. Like there's like songs where I put like lead guitar on these kind of like bluesy songs that he brought in. And I'm like, let's try this. You know what I'm saying? Or like, let's like stack up these vocals. Let's do these layers. He's like, I didn't think of that. He thought of that. And then, but it was like, do you like this? He's like, I love it. Or like, do you like these? Like, not really. Let's do something else. So it's like a collab, but like, it's like another person bringing in something instead of just hitting record. And I don't know if these other guys are doing that or not. That's just how I do it. But that's what I've been told. It's like when they leave, it's like they came out with something far greater in content than what they had even thought was like possible. They thought they were just going to do their vocal and some ad libs and then like mix. I'm like, well, yeah, we could do that, but that's kind of boring. Like,
This is what the fuck I was really thinking that you were going to say.
Let's
Was
like-
that it's something.
let's like make a song.
That's
you know?
it right there.
Let's make like we could do like a karaoke rap where you have a beat and you have a vocal and we mix them together. Okay, that's simple. Like you could do that yourself. But like, let's make a song. Like let's develop a hook. My vocals are on a ton of shit. Like singing melody lines about what the song's about in the place in the hook, because maybe they don't sing. And I'll throw a bunch of shit on it so it doesn't even sound like me. Making some vocoders and stuff, and like that's happened a lot too. And they're like, dude, that's like the most catchy hook in the song. I'm like, well, you know, it's whatever. It's like it just came to me and we were thinking about it and you liked it, so let's collab. Okay, I'll grab the mic, do a little thing, or maybe they can sing it if I can get them to sing. I had this one guy couldn't sing for shit, and we did it, and we stacked up like 3 things, and it was like the most crazy like Bon Iver like kind of thing going on. It was like a rap song. He's like, dude. He goes, I don't know how to reproduce that, but for the record, that sounds sick. I'm like, cool.
Wow.
So that's the producer part, or like making your instrument, like thinking about like how to make the instrumental work, or like that's why I was like track outs. Like, oh, you got this track out, but like the low end is
That's the kick and the certain things in there where you can hear the instruments because you're such an instrument guy.
I listen to music in that room 10 to 12 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. I know when things come across when somebody, and I go, ooh, this is really thin. Or like, oh, this is like overly bloated in the bottom end. Like I can just tell in 10 seconds.
No, and an artist, a lot of times, a hip hop artist won't know any of this.
No, it comes off the internet, off their phone, and they're buying a beat. Like I get it.
Exactly.
So when you get into a system, and I'll talk about this. This is kind of a technical thing, but very, very important. If you've ever been in a studio and you thought the mix was fucking rocking, and then you take it to your car, earbuds, or whatever, and it's completely not what you heard, there's a very good reason for that. And it has to do with a bunch of complicated shit about the dimension of your room, the placement of your speakers in the room, 33 percentiles, the symmetry of the speakers, the 65.5-inch placement, the symmetrical triangles, the fucking treatments being at the bounce points, like where the speakers would hit the ceiling, or like pool, like where they hit the sidewall.
Fuck?
So like all this stuff contributes to a room being unbalanced. So like if you're, the best way I could equate this is like if you're trying to do graphic design or maybe color correction for a movie on a monitor, like let's say that that monitor right there, that's purple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well what if his monitor isn't calibrated for the right colors? So like right now that looks purple, right? He makes his logo. He's like, I like this shade of purple. There's 50,000 shades of purple, right? He's like, number 555 splotch purple. That's what our logo is going to be.
Okay.
His monitor isn't calibrated. It's just whatever off the fucking factory. So we take that to the cell phones in the world. We take it to the TV and it's red.
Oh, shit.
That's the same way with audio. So a lot of these guys, they don't have their shit. Like you got to do a lot of understanding about how science works with all the shit canceling in the room. Because cancellation, the way that microphones work is also how sound waves work in the room. They bounce off the back wall, they come back and they cancel. So your low end could be literally canceling where you're listening and you're boosting 60 hertz thinking this low end is perfect. Well, no, your monitor's off. Your monitors are not calibrated.
Wow.
So you take it to the outside world and all that boost you did now becomes like way too hot.
Wow.
So my monitors,
I haven't thought of that.
yeah, so like that's why when you go in the studio and you listen and you're like, sounds fucking awesome. The vocal levels are perfect. I can hear everything right. Take it to the car and it's like, oh, it sounds like shit. Why is that? It's because we just spent an hour mixing on a speaker system that's not symmetrical in the room. There's no shit to like calculate the waterfall like diagrams of like the reverb tails, and like the low end should be like when you look at like a room, if you were to put a measurement mic where the engineer's listening between the speakers, there's all the frequencies, right? The lowest to the highest. It should kind of look like this. That's flat from 20 to 20K. That means that's a calibrated monitor. So like what's coming out of the speakers is true, so that when I make these changes on my mix, I know that when I add frequencies in the bass, like down here or in the treble, that's right. But now if my room is like this, which most rooms around Spokane are,
okay,
I'm boosting here, I'm cutting there, I'm cutting there.
Okay.
All these frequencies are getting boosted. So you end up with like this cattywampus mix, and it's fucked. So I fought that for a lot of.
So do you do like a car test, or you do everything in the studio?
I still car test, but I was having that issue where like when I'm dealing with all these bands like hip hop, like low end, like mixing vocal levels, all that stuff. For a long time, I would like get a great mix. I thought, bring it to the car, and it's just like sounds off.
Yeah,
this doesn't sound like it did in the studio. Like what the fuck? Like the guitars are not that loud. Like why are they loud? Like the frequencies are louder. Like right. Or the reverb sounds weird, or like the vocal levels don't sound right. It's because all this frequency shit matters. So I fought that for years and years and years. I would go to the car, take notes, go back, adjust it there, even though it doesn't sound as great on the monitors anymore, which is what I should be
tried
thinking.
And true kind of.
Yeah, which I think should be like how I make my decisions. I'm actually now going back to the car, making notes and going back and like adjusting the mix, even though it doesn't sound good to me in there. But I know that when I translate it back to the car, it's gonna be like, fuck that. That's what I did for a long time. So I was like, I wrote down in Google like 10 years ago, like, why do my speakers not, or why does my studio sound better than my car on the mix or something like that? And I came across this guy named Carl Tatz. And he, on his first page of his website, he has this diagram. And he's like, your room is like this. It should be like this. I'm like, okay, I'm learning. I'm in. And he's like, get a Phantom Focus system. I'll come to your studio and I'll install this equipment and I'll spend 3 days there with measurement mics and I will tune your position to be perfect.
Wait.
And I'm like, okay, how much? He's like, 20 grand. I'm like, fuck.
Jesus.
So I saved up for 8 years or something like that until we finally moved into Garland. And he said, don't do it here because you're going to leave this someday. He's like, buy a building that you're going to stay because this has to stay. Like the speakers are bolted to the stands. They don't move. The subs are in the corners. They're phase aligned. There's lasers that go to your ears. He's like, you want to do it in a place you're going to be forever. And then we tweak it over the years as necessary if the speakers like get aged or whatever. Or you put in a couch and it kind of changes the low end response or whatever, which I've had to do.
So is it dialed in?
So we have a Phantom Focus system that was put in about 5 years ago.
Wow.
And that was right around the Django times. And so where you see my old speakers that were like the egg monitors and like the just cattywampus speakers in the room, placed haphazardly. Then you see all my treatments. So I started guruing with him. He was the guru. He started mentoring me where to put stuff, the placement of everything. And he came out, bolted these crazy stands to the floors filled with sand with like these tiny little tips that like when they sit, like you're sitting on that much of a speaker stand instead of like a flat piece of ground like on the floor. So it's like nothing's touching.
Whoa.
Everything is like angular, lasered to my ears. I have a chair that like keeps me, like the chair is part of the system. The speakers are crazy, but you listen to something in that spot and it's like virtual reality. It's like
Holy
perfect.
shit.
You should come and listen to a song in my room. You'd be like, holy shit. Sounds like the vocals are like coming from here. The samples are here. And all the bass is like, it's 3-dimensional.
Bro, I was tripped out by your
crazy.
dad's fucking speakers.
This is a million times better.
Oh my God.
But when I got that, you started hearing my mixes and my masters. I started mastering a lot more then because I had a mastering grade monitoring system. So when you take it into our studio and you're even from the recording phase, you know that it's the truth. Like everything you're recording isn't messed up by the monitors. Like
and you're having to go back and do things.
everything's perfectly dialed. So then it's called translatability. So when I translate that mix to a cell phone or to a car or whatever, it's like 99% there the first time.
Wow.
It's just that good. So when I hear somebody's low end, I'm like, I don't know what they like were listening on, like a laptop speaker or some beat solos that are super hyped. Like if you look at the frequency response of a beat solo, it's like they hype the low end way up and they suck all the mids out and hype all. People are like literally mixing on that, which isn't bad if you're referencing, because if it sounds good on your beats and other songs sound kind of similar, then you can kind of get away with it. But like what I use is a very flat monitoring system where I know that all the colors are exactly what they're supposed to be.
Wow. From the get-go.
And
So
then
you don't have to go back and do
no,
a
when I
bunch of
hand it off to
correction.
somebody, they're not going to like think it's like completely
That's a
different.
big part right there is when you hand it off.
Monitoring
that
is a
it's
big
already-
deal. So monitoring
Yeah.
is a big part of the studio. That there's a lot of science that went into that.
Wow.
A lot of money for just the equipment and the guys to come out. They stay the night. They're coming in from Nashville. I'm paying
Jesus.
for flights. I'm paying for hotels. I'm paying
Jimmy,
for.
we appreciate you for all this hard
Dude,
work you do.
it's a lot. But again, that was kind of selfishly my need because I just didn't want to have to like keep going to the car 50 times to like dial it in. I want to do it one
But
time.
I mean, this is better than the result you would have got even going through the
yeah.
car, right?
Yeah, because you're
so-
still guessing. You're still taking notes and like bringing it back and not getting true feedback once you're here.
now you have a trust.
Yeah,
We're good.
the thing should be like I hear it here, I make an adjustment. That's it.
Goes everywhere.
I don't want to be like, oh, did I make this adjustment? But maybe don't do that because I know that my speakers are like deficient in that
And
frequency.
if I go in the car,
Like,
it's going to
that's
sound
not a way to
different.
go.
Or if I hear it on a cell phone
Yeah, it's
or
not a way to go.
headphones. Yeah.
Everybody that comes and works on my speakers are like, dude, this is the best monitoring system I've ever used.
I'm
And-
really excited because really the car test is a big part of how somebody masters a track. I feel like if they're not giving themselves then you're like, but I'm coming from like an amateur, more of an amateur mixing and mastering style where I want my engineer to make sure,
Yeah.
right? And have already done the work to make sure things are right.
You got to have
know?
you got to have a level playing field, a level system to even know what's what.
But
If
I
you
don't
don't,
see motherfuckers going in the car. I'm like, you mix this too fast. You master this too fast. Like, where did it? Are we good? Like, and then I have to go test it. Then I have to throw it on. I got to go, listen to it in the car and listen to it on a headphone, listen to it, and then kind of just try to find the differences. And that's where when sometimes you go out and get things done yourself for a cheaper price and for, you sacrifice certain parts of your record that could be better.
yeah. Well, and I reference too. So if there's like some metal band that this band kind of like sounds like, and I know has sounded really good before, I have programs that I can quickly A/B between the two and be like, okay, listen to the low end on like let's just say Metallica, and this band sounds like Metallica. I can like play their stuff, play mine, and be like, oh shit, like we're way too bassy or whatever. Like it's a good indicator.
Yeah.
To kind of reference. A lot of people should reference if you're mastering your own stuff. I do that too. It's like, it's easy to like get stuck on a sound, your brain acclimates, your ears acclimate to a sound over hours. So you think that like you keep cranking a high end, it sounds really good, really good, really good. And you go play a commercial mix and it's like not nearly that overly bright.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not too present or whatever. So you can mix yourself into a hole as you go along. So it's good to reference every once in a while and just kind of keep things in check and just say, hey, maybe I am like too dark or too bright or, but for the most part, I just know that my monitoring system is really freaking dialed, and I've spent a lot of years getting it that way, and I have a lot of good people that have helped me out with it. So if a guy brings in a sample or a kick or a 808 and it's like it sounds a certain way, like I usually know immediately like this ain't gonna work. I'm gonna like sub this out for something different in my library, and usually it turns out pretty good.
Sounds like heaven for an artist.
Jimmy, look at the camera. Let everybody know where they can find you, where we can, where people can book a session, where people can reach out. You know what you have going on. Just let people know what's happening.
So the best place probably right now to find us is just like TikTok. I think it's Amplified Wax, Instagram Amplified Wax, Facebook. I'm still on there a little bit. Although, don't hit me up through Facebook DMs. I don't ever get back to people on that. And sometimes people still get left on red or something. I don't know. I try. There's just too many.
It's Facebook, man. I mean, you're left in the dust. That's the MySpace of social media platforms.
I don't typically get too many like serious people that actually book studio time through the DMs on Instagram. So the best place to get me is just go to the website, go through the portal. There's a booking thing. Goes through an email. Write me a detailed like thing about who you are, what you're trying to do. You know, just be professional. As I get a lot of people to hit me up, and I usually take the ones that look like they can make a sentence, put it together.
And you're located right downtown.
Located downtown on East Pacific. We, like I said, we book out a little bit. So if you're planning on an album, just give a couple months notice so we can work it out. It's not going to be like tomorrow or anything. And
my guy's on TikTok. So
yeah, I'm on TikTok
check
now
him
too.
out.
I try to do more kind of fun stories. Like I did a story on the other day where I took a snare drum in all the different rooms and I showed how the different rooms sound. You can even hear it through the camera. So stuff like
That's
that.
cool.
Or
That's
like
cool.
time-lapse photography, setting up sessions. Like TikTok's good for that stuff. Instagram's like pictures and stories and things. But
I love it. Yeah, no, it's different platforms for different ways. This is a long form way to do things and to get Jimmy's whole story. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Jimmy, I want you to look right here in this camera and tell the people just one thing that you're grateful for today.
Ooh, I'm just grateful that I still get to do this after all these years and get to make music and pay the bills and raise my kids. So if you want to make music and you think that would be something we could work on together, hit me up. And also if I didn't really talk about this too much, but if you're a producer and you've got some advanced skills or maybe you want to learn, I've got educational programs that I'm starting to teach all my knowledge, and I'm also renting out the studio to people that once they kind of learn those skills, they can run their own artists through there too. So I have those programs starting up too. It's not just for me anymore. I'm trying to jump on the TS train and build that community versus just me, like we talked about, because it's exhausting. And I think that place is could be put to better use than just me doing all these bands. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
Cool.
Jimmy Hill, ladies and gentlemen.
thank you so much.
Hey, thank you guys for tuning in, and please follow Jimmy on social media and go to his website if you guys want to book some time. And thanks for watching. See you guys.
Peace. Is that like the longest one ever?
That was great.